The story starts with reporters talking about some kind of radiation hitting Earth. Meanwhile, a woman is pushing her baby's stroller through a pharmacy. Then she sees a few cops getting out of their car, just casually chatting about poker. The captain spots her leaving, opens the door, and compliments her kid, who's somehow asleep even in that heat. Of course his buddies start clowning him, saying he's hitting on a woman with a kid, and the receptionist jokes that they're in a great mood today. The youngest one says it's because the war is over, even though a lot of civilians and innocent people still died. Outside, it starts raining. One of the cops says it's probably just a quick shower, but when he looks over, he sees his friend complaining he's in pain. Inside, the captain takes a peek outside and sees his two guys fighting in the bushes. The younger one gets annoyed and goes to see what those idiots are doing, but when he opens the door, he's face to face with the same woman from before, totally out of her mind. Before she collapses, he catches her, and she bites him, because of course she does. Seeing that, the captain yanks her off his partner and throws her outside. Then he witnesses the most brutal scene he could imagine. The woman tries to come back for another go at him, but the captain yells for the clerk to shut the metal shutters. And he does, leaving all the zombies outside. The captain turns around and says they're safe for now, but they need a first aid kit. What he doesn't realize is his buddy is about to turn into a zombie and attack him from behind. Since he's got military training, he doesn't go down right away and calls for help from the nerdy receptionist. But the coward just leaves him there to die and hides in a locked room. What he didn't know is his boss was in there too, ready to make sure he doesn't get paid this month. Meanwhile, the captain is this close to getting bitten. That's when he spots an outlet nearby and smashes it into the zombie's face. But the thing breaks and shocks both of them. He takes the chance to kick it away, then grabs a freezer and drops it on top of the brain eater. Finally, the Korean Rambo hits the floor. He apologizes to his buddy and grabs his phone to figure out what's going on. But when he tries to call someone, he realizes there's no signal. Things aren't looking great. He can't call for backup, and he can't go out into the rain right now. The good news is he's in a store, so there are plenty of supplies. But obviously this guy still doesn't get to rest, because the main character of this story needs saving. Remember the baby in the stroller? Yeah, he wakes up and starts crying like crazy. All of that happened 17 years ago, and that unit was basically wiped out by the virus. Now human life is basically just running from these monstrous creatures. While someone's drawing in a notebook, another person asks them to keep the story going. It's a young girl who was listening while she drew. The man telling it is that same commander. Lighting a cigarette, he says he managed to grab the baby and then got into the car. Even though she already knows the story, the girl asks him to tell it with more detail. Smiling, the man asks if she's already drawing in her notebook. She says, yeah, then walks over to the window to show him. Looking at the drawing, the cop says it makes him look way braver than he actually was. He tells her she's really good at drawing, but she says she feels like something's missing, so she's going to keep practicing. Then she asks him to keep telling the story about baby Andre. The old man says just hearing that kid's name gives him a headache. He explains he worries about leaving him alone, because the kid only ever does dumb stuff. A woman walks up and says the boy takes after him. Somewhere else, underground, mutant rats are trying to find humans. There are a bunch of them near the subway tracks. A group of people is hiding, whispering so they don't get caught. One of them says she has camphor balls that give off a really strong smell. Watching closely, they realize the rats are heading the other way. She thanks Endry for managing to lure the creatures away from them. Grinning, the boy says it was super easy. He just left a few pieces of cake. He says they can't let their guard down, because the next step is even more important. Pointing at a sewer pipe, he says the day would only be perfect if they managed to get out of there without a scratch. Next, he asks his friend if he managed to get the snake pea he asked for. The guy hands over 3 bottles and says that's all he could get. Then he pours that liquid onto the tracks. One of the crew asks if they'll really be safe just by pouring that stuff out. The main guy says it'll only buy them a little time, so they need to get moving fast. The group leader says that, as scavengers, risking their lives is just part of the job, so they head into the pipe. Everyone complains about the smell. It's unbearable. So Endry tells them to shut up, because the rats might still hear them. Halfway through, they find a protective suit from the pharmacists. They figure it must have belonged to someone who got sent to clear out that rat nest, so there's gotta be something valuable around there. Our hero starts opening the coat to see if there's anything worth taking. Right then, an infected rat jumps at his neck. Its teeth are razor sharp, but it gets nailed by a spike. With her weapon in hand, the girl snaps at him, telling him not to touch anything. She also says his recklessness puts everyone at risk. Then he ends up getting flicked on the head. The others ask why she's so nice to the kid, and they keep walking until they reach an exit blocked by a gate. So the protagonist asks for a tool to open it. While he's working, his buddy tells him not to forget to keep the screws. After he unscrews it, he kicks it hard, sending the door flying. That's how they make it out on the other side of the subway station. He warns everyone to be careful in this place. And something a little ahead catches their eye. It's an unfinished subway station. They get excited, because with all the materials in there, they could get rich. They use those machines to take them apart and sell the parts. So the leader tells them to grab anything that's easy to carry. And that's exactly what they do. The young woman says Henry will be in charge of removing the gears. From up on one of the walkways, he tells everyone to turn off their flashlights. Looking in a certain direction, he asks his friend Wang to check out what that is. In one part of the underground, there's only an iron grate, and through it, they can see the stars. The protagonist is blown away. He's never seen them before. Even the leader starts crying from how emotional it is. She says she'd even forgotten what the sky looked like. And looking up, the protagonist asks why the dark sky is called night. She looks at him, annoyed, and says he totally killed the moment. But Henry doesn't stop there. He jokes that Wang must be old since she already knows what stars are. So he gets flicked on the head again, and the girl tells him you never tried to guess a lady's age. Then he grabs her arm, and quickly yanks her toward him, because a rat was trying to attack her. Luckily she dodges in time, and the thing hits the ground. That's when they realize a bunch of them have shown up, and in the distance, they can see even more coming. They're shocked at how fast these infected animals found them. Without wasting time, he tells his partner to warn the rest of the group. Meanwhile, he pulls some poison out of his backpack, and holds a lighter in front of it, lighting it up. With those two together, a huge burst of fire blasts toward the rats. On the other side, the others get warned that the rats are here. Even though they didn't get much, they decide to run right away. But the big-lipped guy isn't happy. He wants to grab more stuff, because he thinks it's worth a lot. Meanwhile, the protagonist keeps spraying fire at the creatures. He wonders why the others are taking so long to get out. Then his friend shows up and says they're coming. So he keeps doing his job, burning the rats. But it's really hard, because rats are pouring out from everywhere. So as soon as he buys a little time, he jumps into the pipe, and the creatures are right behind them. Panicking, he yells for everyone to run as fast as they can. But one of the infected rats attacks his shoulder. The girl already has her nail gun ready to protect her friend, and they keep running. Henry says they're almost at the entrance, and as soon as they get close, he makes a big leap out of the pipe. The long-haired guy grabs a bottle and tells everyone to get behind him. Then he lights it and throws it at the rats. It causes a huge explosion, sending the animals flying. He's relieved he spent his money on that bottle of gasoline, but our protagonist says it won't be enough, so they start running again. But halfway there, they realize something. Our hero points out that Jun Chao wasn't there with them. The other two are shocked too, because the whole place where they'd been had caught on fire. Not believing it, Henry asks if this is really happening, and right then, he starts hearing someone's footsteps. Their friend crawls out of a pipe wearing that pharmacist's protective suit, so they realize he's still alive. The long-haired guy says their friend is way too greedy and went back for the suit. Freaked out, the young leader says there wouldn't have been time to save him, but to the protagonist, there was no way he was leaving his friend behind. He tells Wang they need to hurry so they don't waste time, but the long-haired guy is already heading out, not caring at all. So both the girl and the protagonist call out to him. He stops and asks what they want. Henry asks for insecticide since he'd run out, and the guy hands it over. Then he keeps walking toward the exit and says they'll deal with it outside. Our hero tells the girl she should go too, but she won't leave him. So the two of them use their weapons to keep the rats back. While he's throwing fire, he tells his friend to hang in there. Even though his body is covered in rats, the suit is protecting him. And finally Wang manages to grab his hand and help him up. Yelling, he says he got him. The protagonist asks if he's still breathing, but the guy is too freaked out to answer. So the leader says once they get outside they'll talk. To get out of there, our hero throws the insecticide, causing a huge explosion. They use that moment to escape. Outside, the other member is already selling the stuff he stole. The merchant even asks where his teammates are, and the kid says maybe he won't even see them again. Right next to him there's a guy coughing, while pharma officers walk up. They're checking if anyone might be infected, so they use a thermometer to see if the temperature is normal. After checking, they say the kid is cleared, so the group member needs to be quick, because he could get detected. But then someone yells for somebody to stop. Without looking back, the kid is terrified he's about to get caught. But actually they're talking to the man right behind him, the one coughing. When the man realizes they want to arrest him, he runs. Meanwhile, our hero and his friends make it outside. Wang tells them to stay quiet because they spot the patrol. They know something's wrong up ahead. They catch up to the man and, now aiming a gun, tell him he has to go into quarantine. Shouting, the man says there's no way he's going with them, and the patrol guy straight up says he didn't ask for his opinion. Then he orders the others to take him. Watching all of this from hiding, the girl knows it's dangerous to be their enemy. Her teammate even says that because of the worms in their bodies, the device would start beeping. After grabbing the sick people, they announce they're going to evacuate. And still hiding, the big-lipped guy asks the protagonist why his adoptive dad works for those guys. Really pissed, Henry tells him to think before he talks. And to make things worse, something falls and makes a noise. It's one of the items they took from underground. The idiot realizes his backpack is ripped. He starts breaking out in a cold sweat, because they could get caught. And sure enough, the patrol hears the sound, and the group member freezes, not knowing what to do. To save his friends, he steps out of hiding. So Endri and Wang stay hidden while their friend gets chased by the officers. What his friend does makes the protagonist really angry, but Wang tells him to stay quiet. The officers catch up to the kid. Quickly, he grabs the man's arm and throws him forward. He uses him as a hostage, holding something up to his face. He tells the others that if they come any closer, he'll stab his buddy in the eye. What he doesn't expect is that their leader doesn't care at all. He says it wouldn't make any difference if he killed that man. With this nasty smile, he says that in the end, both of them would wind up at the viral control center in body bags. Trying to stop that, the patrol guy fights back, grabbing the kid's hand. He says there's no way a child like him could take his life, and forcing as hard as he can, the protagonist's friend says he doesn't have a choice. But right then, one of the guys kicks him in the face, and then the guy drops to the ground, kicking him over and over. The leader curses the kid out, saying he's already caused a ton of trouble. Once again, with that evil look in his eyes, the man says everything he said was true. So he and his men start fighting. The whole thing just makes our hero even angrier, because they don't care about anyone. And on top of that, they keep beating his friend non-stop. One says there's no way to help, because she knows those guys don't have mercy for anything. But before she can even react, the protagonist takes off running. He's dead set on helping his friend. He comes flying in with a jump and nails one of the guys. Next, he goes after that asshole leader. And that's exactly what happens. He punches him right in the middle of the face. Then he calls to his friend so they can get out of there. He asks if he's okay, and the guy says Endri shouldn't have come to save him. Meanwhile, the patrol guys are furious. So the protagonist grabs a tool and says it's covered in bacteria. Right after that, the officer uses his weapon, which shoots fire, to sterilize it. And he says those kids are so naive. Pointing the gun at them, he asks what part of their bodies he should hit. But our protagonist says that's pathetic, and if he's a real man, he should fight fair, hand to hand. But right then, someone hits him in the neck. He drops to the ground, knocked out. The man says there's no reason to waste time fighting him. Then he orders his men to tie both of them up and take them to the viral control center. Wang, still hiding, watches the whole thing. Back in the study area, the doctor is taking some blood from the young girl Jing. When she's done, she says that was this month's dose and asks if Jing is okay. Even though she looks really weak, Jing says she's fine. But the former commander reassures her, noticing she's stumbling. He helps her over to a stretcher and tells her to rest for a bit. Then he calls the doctor over. He says these transfusions are happening way too often, and he asks why she doesn't send Jing to the research area already. She answers that it's way too dangerous out there, and that this is the safest place for the girl, basically hinting that Jing is really valuable to them. With a pretty threatening look, she says everyone's doing their part. Jing just lies there, not saying anything, but then something outside catches her attention. Those patrol guys are coming in with the people they captured. One of them is our protagonist, who, by the way, is super tense. He's annoyed because the guy in front is moving really slow. That guy looks worse and worse, clearly sick. From upstairs, the girl watches them all walking in, and down below, our protagonist gets confused when he hears someone scream. Looking terrifying, the sick guy starts yelling a name. Turns out he saw the girl up above and thinks she's like a goddess. The protagonist's friend tells him to stay away from that crazy guy, and the girl at the window says it looks like the man is talking to her. When the former commander comes closer, he's shocked by what he sees. Down there, things are getting messy. The officers point their guns at the lunatic. Then they order everyone to shut up while they lock the cell. Our hero, pissed off, says he'll get revenge. He says it's not fair they're stuck in there, because they're not infected. But the patrol leader steps up and says, in the end, nobody gets out of there alive. Since Endri doesn't get it, one of the other guys in the cell explains. He says everyone there gets used as test subjects for the cure research. That's why they don't care whether the people they throw in there are actually sick. Hearing that, the protagonist and his friend are shocked. Meanwhile, that crazy guy sits on the floor, rambling nonsense. With a totally unhinged look, he says the sun is going to rise, and he starts laughing in this creepy way. Everyone else is confused, trying to figure out what he even means. Panicking, the blonde guy begs the guards for help. He presses his face up to the bars and asks them not to let that lunatic in with them. The officers hear yelling from far off and start complaining about the noise, so they walk over and tell them to shut up. One of them even smacks the poor guy in the face with his gun. The guy drops to the floor in pain while the protagonist watches. Flexing his authority, the leader says he'll do the same to the rest if they don't cooperate. Right after that, more captives show up to be put in the same cell. Even hurt, the blonde guy begs them to hold the door before they close it. And totally confused, Endri and his buddy look to the side. The patrol officers think the whole thing is weird too. That crazy guy shoves a finger down his throat, and somehow he manages to cough up a little vial. Nobody understands what the hell that was, but then they realize it's this pale-looking blood, and above his head, the guy gets ready to open it. That's when the officers recognize it. It's rainwater. The poor guys who are in the same cell start freaking out. Endri and his friend know they're in even bigger trouble now. Opening the vial, The lunatic says he's gonna be immortal now, and then he pours the liquid into his eyes. The main character's friend even tries to stop him. He grabs the guy by the collar, but he realizes it's already too late. The vial drops to the floor and shatters into a bunch of pieces, and the guy's eyes start changing. Roots from that virus push out from there, growing more and more. Trying to protect his friend, our hero shoves him back. Those weird roots keep spreading. Right after that, the infected guy lunges at the blonde kid, and he ends up biting the poor guy's neck. Relieved, the big-lipped friend thanks Endry for pulling him away. Looking at one of the officers, our hero says the door is still locked. He yells for them to open it, or they're all gonna get bitten. Right next to him, he watches the guy getting eaten alive. The patrol officers ready their weapons to take the creatures out, and the leader sarcastically apologizes, because he's about to shoot everyone, so other prisoners who aren't even infected get hit too. Our protagonist, furious at what they're doing, barely makes it out. He and his buddy hide behind the wall, but the leader says if they don't die from bullets, it'll be even worse. That just makes the survivors even more terrified. Now the infected creature has finished eating the blonde kid. It lets out a scream, and the other one wakes up already infected too. Panic ramps up, because now they know both of them are coming for them. And that's exactly what happens. Bravely, the big-lipped guy grabs the creature by the arms. He throws a punch right in its face and yells to Endry that this is where they die. But Endry won't give up and tells his friend to hold on a little longer. Fast as hell, he slips his arm through the bars and grabs the leader's leg. Then he yanks it inward, trapping it against his arm, forcing the guy to keep part of his leg on the same side as the infected. But the officer points his gun at Endry. He orders him to let go, or he'll blow his head off. Calmly, Endry tells him to lower the gun and open the door. And he reminds him that even if he pulls the trigger, his leg is still stuck. Meanwhile, things inside just keep getting worse, with more and more infected. With no way out, the leader finally tosses the keys through the bars. Endry lets go of his leg. Then he grabs the gun and the keys too. No hesitation. He aims at the two infected still standing, and tells his friend to duck. He lines up the shot, about to pull the trigger, but then he realizes the gun's empty. With a smug little grin, the officer leader shows he kept the ammo. Then he takes off running, wishing them good luck. Right away, Endry's partner yells at him to open the door. Sweating like crazy, the poor guy fumbles for the right key. After a few seconds, he finally gets it open. But when he looks back, he sees something horrifying. His friend has been bitten. He'd been holding the creature's mouth shut with his own hands just to buy Endry time. Crying, he tells Endry to go, and that they'll meet again in another life. Then he gets attacked in the neck. Meanwhile, the doctor, the girl, and the ex-commander head down the stairs, arguing about the vaccine. The woman tells the girl to stay safe until they succeed. But the girl feels alone, stuck there without knowing anyone. Her guardian agrees and is about to say what he thinks too. But then the sirens start blaring. That means code red, and the old man says he'll go ahead and check. When he reaches the next section, he runs into the officers. Confused, he asks what happened. One of them tells him to run to another floor immediately. And he's completely stunned when he hears the place has been overrun by infected. The prison cells can't hold them anymore. The protagonist's friend has already turned into a zombie, and now he can even bend the metal bars. Seeing there's no fixing this, Endry hurries and takes off running. He figures there might already be more infected in other areas, and he needs to find his adoptive uncle, Commander High. But right after that, he looks back when he hears the noise. He realizes they've already managed to knock down the cell gate, so all the infected were loose. They immediately start chasing the main guy, and while he's running without even looking ahead, he crashes into someone. It's his uncle, who's there to save him, but he's shocked when he sees what the place is really like. He had no idea the creatures were already out, so the old man tells everyone to run while he deals with the infected. Our hero does, and right behind him is the precious young girl. The doctor, who's with them too, wonders how it's even possible there are so many infected in there, and shouting, he tells them to listen to High and get out of there. No time wasted. The old man starts firing and hits one of the monsters. But he's worried, because he doesn't think he has enough ammo to take them all down. Meanwhile, the infected one he shot is still alive, and its body keeps mutating more and more. The protagonist and the two women run up the stairs to reach the upper floor. At the top there's a door. Endry grabs it and tries to open it, but it seems jammed. The doctor explains that when the red siren goes off, the doors lock. They think they're done for, because the infected are getting closer. But High is still giving it everything, shooting at them. The blonde infected guy takes several shots to the head, and with that, he falls backward on top of another one. Then High yells that this is their chance to get out. But the creature quickly gets back up and starts following them again. Nearby there's another door, and luckily Endry manages to open it. That place is the quarantine zone tunnel, and after shooting at the creature coming toward them, the old man tells Endry to shut the door. The kid does, but the door is really heavy, so the infected manages to stick its hand into the gap that's still open. To the protagonist's surprise, it's his friend. He grabs him by the collar and starts pulling him. but Hai gets there in time and shoves the rifle into the infected guy's mouth. The protagonist begs him not to do it, since it's his friend's body. He's in shock when he realizes his uncle didn't listen. After the shot, they slam the door shut fast. Hai says that even if one day he gets infected, Endry has to kill him on the spot. Then the kid tells them they need to get out of there, now. On the other side, the green-haired girl freaks out. She runs into another infected, and the doctor tells them to close the door quietly. So they start pulling the metal grates, and the infected doesn't seem to notice. But then it realizes there are people there, and when it turns around, it's got a chunk of an arm in its mouth. The girl panics, while the doctor tells them to move. Now, the creature gets ready to attack them, and stepping up, our hero moves in front and lands a solid kick on the monster. It goes flying, and right after that, Hai shows up and finishes it with a shot to the head. Looking ahead, they realize there are more areas with infected. The place is already wrecked, and there are a bunch of dead guards. Hai wonders how this could have happened, since everyone there had weapons. Then he points to some graffiti on the wall. The symbol shows whoever did this is from the Burning Star. Already knowing what it means, the doctor says those people are going to want to destroy the whole place. Checking around, they see bullet holes everywhere, and those dead guards were executed, shot up, not bitten. Knowing what that could lead to, the doctor breaks into a cold sweat. Nearby, Endry finds some bottles of insecticide, and at another entrance, he hears some noises. He tells the others something weird is going on. Reading the situation, Hai says the smartest move is to go the other way, because on the other side, there are some guards still trying to survive. Some are getting attacked, so they decide to fall back. Knowing they won't be able to go back inside, the man tells them to head to the upper floor, and he turns around, trying to take out some of the infected that are coming in. But they won't be able to handle it. Too many are showing up. Seeing that, the old man knows that if the disease control center gets destroyed, the whole city will be in danger. With no other option, Endry yells for them to go up to the surface. But the doctor says that's impossible, because in situations like this, the exit seals shut for safety. Still, our hero says he knows another route that's outside the quarantine zone. Out of patience, his uncle tells him to show the way already. So the young guy points and says there's a gate upstairs that should be open. Grabbing the girl by the arm, Endry tells her to hurry up, but the girl's worried about the guards they left behind. Trying to snap her out of it, the doctor tells her to focus on keeping herself safe. So they keep moving through the subway station, but carefully. There are infected down there too. One of them spots them and charges. Endry kicks it away and tells the others to get up the stairs. He also says they should head for the next security gate, but when they reach the top, the girl freezes. There are way more infected up there. The whole floor is packed with those things, and they're left wondering what to do now. Endry yells for them not to just stand there, because the one behind them is already catching up. But the doctor says there's no way they can push through with that many infected. Then, luckily, someone shows up holding a police riot shield. It's Hai, back again to protect them. The infected rush in, snarling like crazy. One clean shot knocks two of them back. Hai keeps firing, nailing another infected right in the head. The former commander shouts for everyone to stay close to him. As they run, they notice more infected coming up from the lower level. Endry tells everyone to keep going and says he'll stay behind to cover them. Nearby, a trapped soldier starts screaming for help. Panicking, he begs them not to leave him, swears he's got a gun and can help the group. His pleading catches the protagonist's attention, but Endry runs over and tells him he can keep the gun. Jing tries to go save him, but our hero stops her. She insists she doesn't want to leave him to die. He yells at her to open her eyes and pay attention. Pointing at the man's leg, he explains the wound can't be cured, and Jing is stunned. The soldier begs not to be abandoned as the monsters close in. As he's attacked, he wonders why nobody saved him. Now infected, the soldier grabs the gun and swears he'll kill all of them. Jing flinches when she hears a gunshot. The doctor gets hit in the shoulder and tells Jing not to be stupid, reminding her they almost died because of her. The infected soldier realizes he missed. Using insecticide, Endry blasts fire at the infected. The man gets covered in flames too. Seeing the guy's gun, Endry says it's a good thing he fired, because now Endry knows the gun still had ammo. Furious, he tells the soldier the problem is he wasted the bullet Endry could have used. The soldier screams in pain as the infected tear into him. The doctor warns Jing that if she doesn't move fast, she'll be the only one left behind. Hai holds the line, says he already cleared the route to the gate, and yells for them to hurry before they get caught. The commander asks Endry if he's sure this is the right way. Endry shouts for his uncle to watch out for the monster behind him. A shot blows the monster's head apart. Our hero tells them to stay calm, he knows the way. Meanwhile, more and more infected show up, and they start crawling under the gate. As he shoots one of them, Endry wonders how there are infected outside the quarantine zone, since leaving is supposed to be forbidden. The doctor notices the doors were open, and Hai figures they weren't the only ones who knew about that route. The protagonist gets worried, because he remembers one used to go out that way too. But the main thing is getting out as fast as possible, so he flicks his lighter on. Pointing ahead, he tells everyone to follow the tracks. He warns them to be careful, because the ground is dark and uneven. Suddenly, someone's foot gets stuck in the tracks. On edge, Henry turns around and asks who it was. It's Jing. Her leg is stuck, and it's badly cut by the rail. Panicking, the protagonist yells for them to get her out fast. The doctor tells the girl to take off her shoe and relax so she can move her leg. Jing says it's not working and it hurts like hell, while Henry warns the infected are getting closer. She starts breaking out in a cold sweat, trying to free herself in time. Seeing the creatures getting closer and closer, the ex-commander tells Henry to watch himself, because he needs to protect the women. Henry fires back that he's used to looking out for himself. He aims the gun, getting ready to shoot. One shot, and a monster's head explodes. He complains he can barely handle the gun's kick and wonders how his uncle manages. Hai tells him to hold steady, and says he should be rushing the girls instead of talking to him. The doctor says she can't get the girl's leg loose. The steel is too hard. Jing cries, begging the doctor to leave her there so they don't die because of her. The doctor tells her to stop talking nonsense, and just push through the pain, because getting caught by the infected would be way worse. With all her strength, the doctor yanks Jing's leg. The girl's foot comes free, but it leaves a cut. Right after that, the doctor grabs her by the arm and rushes her along. Henry yells for them to go on ahead while he holds the monster's back. He gets ready to shoot again, using his lighter too, but then he realizes he's out of ammo. He tells Jing to get up, because one of the infected managed to get through. The creature leans in to bite Jing, and she's totally defenseless. Seeing that, Henry and his uncle completely panic. At the very last second, the doctor's hand shoots in front of the monster's mouth. She shoves the infected back and ends up getting her hand bitten. Missing part of a finger, the poor woman tells the others to run and leave her behind. Covering them, Hai fires to clear a path. Henry tells the girl to climb onto his back, but she's worried about the doctor. Out of patience, Henry tells her to shut up and pulls her along. He hoists her onto his back and says if she'd been more careful, none of this would have happened. The commander yells at the protagonist to run already. As they escape, Jing cries desperately for the doctor. Hai calls out for her. Already surrounded by monsters, the doctor says there's no saving her. But she tells them to go, and that she'll hold the creatures off as long as she can. In her final moments, she asks them to protect Jing, because she's everyone's last hope. Hai salutes the doctor and tells her not to worry. Then he shouts, promising he'll finish the mission. Turning his back, he gets ready to run. Hai runs as fast as he can, leaving the doctor to be eaten by the monsters. As she starts to change, she remembers something. Little Jing was holding the doctor's hand and asking where they were going. The doctor just says she'll find out soon. Back in the present, the infected tear the doctor's clothes apart without mercy. One of the stronger creatures lets out a terrifying scream. The horde completely devours the woman's body. Hai says the time the doctor bought them will be enough to get away. Our hero explains the plan. Climb up through a chimney to reach a subway station and, from there, find an escape route. He notices Jing on her knees, crying, and calls to her. She's crying hard over the doctor's death. Through sobs, Jing says she didn't step on that on purpose. With a lighter in his hand, Henry tells her to calm down and listen to him. He angrily yells at her to look at their situation and asks if she wants everyone to die there. On the other side of the door, the infected try to break in to get them. Hai says he's out of ammo, and if they get caught again, it's over. Carrying the girl on his back, Henry climbs the stairs while she apologizes, crying. She says it's all her fault, and that she's just dead weight. He tells her to hang in there and stop crying, because the noise could attract the infected. Down below, the lighter they left behind sets off a fuse connected to the insecticide canisters. The creatures bunch together as the flame grows. Right after that, a massive explosion wipes out the whole horde. Satisfied, Hai says those little BBQs should block the way for a while. Henry asks if the trick was worth losing his lighter, and Hai explains the insecticides were full of flammable gas. Still climbing, he spots the ladder that'll take them out of the yard. When they look toward the exit, Hai realizes the orange color in the sky is the sunset. Jing and Henry are amazed by the golden color, something they've never seen before. They say it looks different, because they don't know what life is like outside the quarantine zone. As he starts climbing, Henry says he's going to see with his own eyes what the world is like. He grabs the ladder, but a piece comes off in his hand. Jing warns Hai that the ladder is rusty and tells him to be careful. Then she screams, terrified, warning that something is coming up behind him. It's the monsters that survived the explosion, and now they're catching up to the group. Hai tells them to keep climbing, because he thinks the creatures are too dumb to climb a ladder. Henry feels the ladder shaking and thinks they're going to fall because they're too heavy. He tells them to go as fast as they can and tells Jing to hold on tight so she doesn't fall. Jing gets scared, because she already knows what'll happen if they fall from there. So scared she clings even tighter to Henry, and he complains. Looking down, he freaks out when he sees the monsters are already right there. Hai yells that half of them have already burned, but there are still a few left. Halfway up, one of the monsters manages to grab the commander's boot. Annoyed, the old man tells the thing to let go of his foot, and he kicks the bastard right in the face. But right after that, another one grabs on again. Hai shouts not to worry, saying he's got it. Endry says he's more worried about the ladder, because it's already making those about to snap noises. One of the screws comes loose, and the guy warns that if this keeps up, the ladder's going to fall. Down below, the monsters pile up, trying to reach them. The commander realizes the ladder won't hold and yells for them to get out of there before it breaks completely. And it doesn't take long for the ladder to snap right where it was rusted. Jing and our hero freeze when they see the whole thing splitting apart. The protagonist steps on another weak rung. With the swaying, Endry yells at the girl to stop moving. Jing grips the guy's neck tight so she won't fall. Our hero complains she's going to snap his neck. With only a little left to reach the top, he tells her to climb onto his shoulders so she can get out. Terrified, Jing looks down and realizes her Uncle Hai isn't there anymore. The ladder breaks in half, and the ex-commander ends up on top of the infected. The creatures look up, ready to tear him apart. Facing that, Hai thinks he never imagined his life would end like this. Our hero tells Jing to get off his back and look for something to help save Uncle Hai, but she doesn't even know what to look for. Pissed at the question, Endry yells at her to just go. Hanging from the broken ladder, Hai says it's too late, and asks the kid to listen to what he has to say. He tells the boy to meet him in 3 days at the tallest building, and if he doesn't show up, they should head to the Biology Institute so they'll be safe. The protagonist yells that in 3 days he'll save him himself, and tells his uncle to wait for him. The ex-commander reminds him how important it is to take care of Jing, because without her, the Institute people wouldn't let him in. Hai throws something up and tells the boy to catch it, reminding him of what he'd already taught him. Then the ladder he's holding onto starts to crumble, and as it breaks apart, he says this might finally come in handy. Seeing what's about to happen, Endry and Jing scream in panic. The last screw pops out, and Hai drops along with the rest of the ladder. He disappears into the darkness, drowned out by the monster's screams. Meanwhile, they're left there on the ladder. Our hero mourns that Hai didn't even get to finish his sentence. He thinks all of Hai's annoying lessons now felt like a shadow fading away. Still in total shock, he wonders how that could have happened. All he can see is the broken ladder, and all he can hear are the horror sounds coming from that endless hell down below. Jing finally reaches the top and cheers that they made it out. As he climbs out, Endry says they'll be safe for now, but the girl is in tears. Angry, he tells her to shut up. In his head, the protagonist is sure his uncle would find another way. The scene shifts to the past, with Hai telling young Endry to pay close attention. The ex-commander teaches him how to make a fire by rubbing sticks together, and says it's pretty easy. Then he hands the kid a tool, saying that with that, he'd never have to worry about starting a fire. Young Endry lights a lighter, and says that's way more convenient. Hai explains that one day the lighter would run out of gas, and that this old thing could save his life. The kid gets the point and takes the tool his uncle offered. Endry asks his uncle to teach him useful stuff so he can protect them in the future. With a caring gesture, the old man says it'd be good for the boy to know how to take care of himself. Young Endry says he'd never be alone, because he and his uncle were the strongest of all. And with the fire lit, Hai jokes with the kid, saying then he'd be the one being protected by the little guy. And now, staring at the stiletto his uncle threw him, Endry thinks that in the end, he was always the one being protected. Jing keeps crying hard too. Then she calls out to Endry. Trying to play it off, he says the sunlight is really strong. Standing up, he tells her to stop crying. Our hero says they need to get out of there, and reach the TV tower in 3 days to meet Uncle Hai. With tears in her eyes, Jing asks how that's even possible. And the protagonist cuts her off, grabbing her. Carrying the girl, he says they need to find somewhere safe so he can take care of her injured ankle. As they go up the stairs, Jing looks around and asks where they are. Endry thinks that even though they escaped death, the place they ended up in was basically a real-life version of hell. The girl realizes this is the place people were so desperate to return to. In front of them was a world in ruins, a city destroyed even before the war had ended. The ruined city was completely silent, which made everything even creepier. Jing says the place is huge, but it feels totally empty. Still carrying her, the protagonist says he thought the surface world would be packed with infected, like the tunnel they came from. He explains the monsters don't like light, so they hide during the day, but at night, everything changes. Jing apologizes for her injury, saying she's slowing them down. Endry scolds her, and says he'll find a safe place to set her down soon, even if he hates how things are right now. Suddenly, a loud sound grabs his attention. He asks if she's hungry, but she says no. The girl realizes the noise is coming from the sky, dark clouds rolling in. The two of them watch, scared, as the clouds move toward them. The protagonist yells that if they don't hide from the rain that's coming, they're completely screwed. While they run, the girl asks if it can rain while the sun's still out, and Endry says yeah. And soon the drops start coming down harder, but Jing reminds him the infection only happens if the rainwater touches your eyes. She says they should hide anywhere, but Endry wants to find the safest spot possible. The girl realizes that with rain like this, it'll be impossible not to get water in their eyes. She tries to cover Endry's eyes to protect him, telling him not to look back. But the boy feels something and wonders if he got touched. Turns out the girl was climbing up onto his neck. She sits there and pulls her dress over his head, saying she'll protect him. Their hero complains that he feels something wet. Embarrassed, Jing says it's just the rain and tells him to hurry and find somewhere safe. Looking around, he complains there's nowhere safe, just rubble. He points to a shop and says the windows look like they're still in decent shape. They reach the entrance and duck inside. Using his tactical knife, he tries to pick the lock. He manages to open it, and when he looks in, he sees the place is in pretty good condition. But as he steps inside, he sees the silhouette of a woman. Then he sees another silhouette and freaks out. But it's just a mannequin. Jing even says she's seen something like that in a magazine, so she figures it's a clothing store. Jing says the clothes are clean and that she wants to find something to wear. But after checking a few items, Endry realizes it's an adult store, and it would be a really bad idea for her to wear that stuff. Trying to play it off, he says he's going to look for supplies to treat her injury. Then he finds some plastic bottles, and says he's going to fill them with rainwater to wash her wound and prevent infection. Watching the rain fill the containers, he thinks the sound of drops hitting the glass is actually kind of nice. While the rain pours outside, they stay quiet. Embarrassed, Jing says she gets what he meant now. Holding up a piece of lingerie, she realizes this isn't a normal clothing store. The protagonist doesn't hear her because he's busy breaking a piece of wood. He asks why she pulled part of the furniture off, and she says it's for firewood. Flustered, he's shocked when he looks at her. The girl tries to explain her outfit choice. She comes out dressed like a maid, saying even though it's short, it was the only thing that wasn't worn out. Annoyed, the protagonist complains about the weird stockings full of holes. She says her injury is swollen and the air is cold. Up above, the rainwater he collected is boiling over the fire. He used a shelf grate to hang the clothes and boil the water. Jing asks if the bottle is made of some special heat-resistant plastic, and he wonders how she's even survived this long. The girl gets irritated at the comment. Right after that, Endry says the water should be ready. He distills the boiled water and says now they've got enough so they won't die of thirst. Endry asks why she's staring, and explains the water has to be filtered, or they'll get infected. Jing doesn't say anything, leaving Endry feeling awkward. He offers her the bottle, telling her to drink, since there isn't much and it won't really quench her thirst anyway. The girl thanks him, and says the rest can be used to clean her wound. Out on the porch, he gets ready to treat it, and asks if it's still hot. As he pours the water, he explains he needs to drain the blood and tells her to brace herself for the pain. Nervous, she agrees and says she'll tough it out. Using his fingers, he squeezes the wound to drain all the pus. Her scream of pain echoes through the silent city. Night falls, revealing a sky full of stars. With her foot already bandaged, Jing falls asleep, still mumbling. She's sweating a lot. Meanwhile, our hero thinks about how the rain doesn't affect her, and that the stories about her are true. He wonders how the doctor and Uncle Hai fought so hard just to protect one person. Suddenly, a distant scream for help puts him on alert. He kicks the metal grate and quickly puts out the fire. Jing wakes up at the noise and asks what's going on, but Endry quickly covers her mouth, telling her to be quiet. In a whisper, he warns her someone's coming after them. Downstairs, someone was bleeding. The man is being carried by his friend, and he says he can't walk anymore. His leg has been pierced by an arrow, straight through. Meanwhile, someone is watching them through night vision. Out of nowhere, another arrow is fired. This time, the girl gets hit. Spitting up blood, she looks at the wound in her chest while the man screams her name. Jing realizes someone is shooting arrows at them and says they need to go help, but Endry stops her. He says she can't go down there, she can barely stand, and asks if she wants to get hit too. The man panics when he sees another arrow stuck in the girl's back. Bleeding, she begs for help. He freaks out when he realizes he can't stop the bleeding. Terrified of dying, he apologizes to her and decides to run to save himself. He gets up and leaves, while she stays on the ground, still begging for help. As he runs, an arrow hits the man in the leg. He screams in pain and collapses. Crying, he begs the shooter to stop. Jing pulls away from Endry and says if he won't help, then she will. She says she can't just stand there and watch someone die. Annoyed, Endry scolds her and says she needs to learn not to bring trouble onto other people. He explains it's already dark, and the shooter is probably using night vision goggles, which means they can see them too. The reason they're still alive, he says, is because they're out of the shooter's range. The protagonist figures the shots to the legs were just to get their attention and lure them into a trap. From a distance, the shooter watches the two of them and thinks they've figured it out. Endry says the doctor's sacrifice will have been for nothing if Jing falls for a trick like this, and that he won't let her go. With tears in her eyes, she wonders how people can do something like that to other humans. He says that to survive, humans are capable of anything. Outside, the injured man crawls away and leaves his backpack, full of stuff, behind. He offers his supplies in exchange for his life. His friend, right next to him, is already close to passing out. Suddenly, a monstrous foot steps down beside the girl. She tells her friend to run. When he realizes how many infected there are, he panics. There are a lot of them nearby. Surrounded by the monsters, the man screams desperately for them to stay back. And from up above, our hero and Jing hear the screams. He tells her to stay quiet, because they're at risk too. All of a sudden, a loud noise startles him. When he turns around, he sees Jing collapsed on the floor and asks what happened. Holding her, he asks why she suddenly fell, and she complains that her head hurts really bad. He realizes she has a really high fever and figures her wound got infected. Just rinsing it with water wasn't enough, and her leg is even more swollen. Jing says she's fine and that she's had a bunch of vaccines, so she just needs a good night's sleep to get better. Angry, he yells that an infected wound isn't the same as a regular flu, and that if they don't treat it, she'll get sepsis. He says she needs an anti-inflammatory ointment, and tells her to rest while he goes to look for something. As he searches for medicine, he gets frustrated when he realizes it's all useless. He realizes there are probably no meds left in the pharmacies, and wonders if he should go after the shooter. When he looks out the window, he gets an idea. He tells Jing he knows where to get the medicine. That backpack outside probably has food in it too. The girl begs him not to go, saying it's way too dangerous because of the shooter and the infected. He covers her with a shirt and tells her not to worry, he's not like her. And he says that without him, she'd die from sepsis, tetanus, or the shooter. Then he rips a piece of fabric and ties a rope to his pants. He tells the girl that her Uncle Hai gave him the job of looking after her, so he has to do it. Still, Jing is terrified. The protagonist calms her down, saying he already knows how to deal with the shooter. Outside, the infected are still hanging around near the backpack with the supplies. He realizes the shooter is careful and won't risk going down to grab the loot. The guy figures the shooter must be on the roof, with a clear view of the area. Staying hidden, he plans to get close to the shooter's bunker so he can get right up near him. Through the scope, the shooter tracks Endry. Smirking, he says Endry's fast, but he can't hide forever. He says they'll see what kills him first, the monsters or his crossbow. Behind a car, the protagonist hides and watches what's going on. He wonders if it's safe to get close to one of the infected. Then the monsters hear a noise and sprint toward him. But when they get there, all they find is a rock. They tilt their heads side to side like they're looking for something. Right after that, they hear another noise and, once again, take off after it. Hidden on the other side, the protagonist comments on how easy they are to trick. Again, he throws the rock as far away from the backpack as he can. Now the only thing between him and the backpack is the shooter. He dashes toward the backpack and slips behind another car. Hiding there, he thinks this car is his last bit of cover, and he's just one move away from the backpack. It's only a few steps away. Through the scope, the shooter says Endry's about to step into his line of sight. Impatient, he wants the hero to hurry up and come out from behind the car. As soon as he can see Endry's head, he gets ready to shoot. An arrow flies at high speed toward the protagonist. The shooter celebrates the perfect shot, 10 points. Confused, he looks through the scope again. His target didn't drop. Furious, he realizes he actually hit a mannequin and wonders how Endry dared to trick him. The protagonist says the shooter's good, but luckily he had the mannequin to test him. Otherwise his head would have been turned into a kebab. He realizes the shooter is taunting him and trying to get rid of him. The next step he decides is taking the shooter down, and for that, he'll use the item Hai gave him. The shooter thinks the kid is scared or trying to mess with him, but sooner or later he'll have to grab the backpack and step into view. Through the scope, the shooter sees something shining and wonders what it is. A bright light blinds him completely, and he complains that he can't see anything. With the shooter distracted, the protagonist takes the chance to put up a wall of fire. He grabs the supply backpack and celebrates that the run was a success. His plan was to siphon gas from the car he'd been using as a shield. He even accidentally swallowed a bit, and complains about how awful it tastes. With the bottle full, he makes a Molotov cocktail. Using sparks from a knife, he lights the fuse. With that intense light, the shooter's night vision would be useless. Furious that he fell for the trick, the shooter gets ready to strike back. He fires randomly, and one of the arrows almost hits the protagonist's foot. Annoyed, the hero calls the shooter a coward and challenges him to a fistfight. Suddenly, the infected start coming back, drawn by the noise. One of them attacks the protagonist from behind. Endry quickly ducks, trying to throw it off. He manages to do it, but more are closing in. The protagonist realizes that with this many monsters, he won't be able to make it back to the shop. He's been spotted, and if he goes back the same way, Jing will be in danger. Surrounded on all sides, he decides to head left to draw the monsters away, then figure out how to get back. As he runs, he yells for the monsters to follow him, but he freaks out when he sees one of the infected running on all fours like an animal. Endry wonders if the number of monsters just keeps growing. He needs to come up with a plan, because if he keeps running like this, he's going to wear out. Out of nowhere, a huge monster jumps him, but he manages to dodge. Endry ends up trapped, with monsters in front of him and behind him. With nowhere to go, he spots an abandoned bus and decides to use it as shelter. One monster manages to grab his foot and tries to yank him out of the bus. He kicks it right in the face, but it refuses to let go. To make things worse, another infected shows up at the window next to him, and it grabs one of his arms. Endre immediately breaks free and pulls himself back inside. And he manages to get in and wait for things to calm down. But he's terrified of getting dragged out again. Annoyed when he sees the steering wheel is broken, he says he knew this was gonna happen. Then, out of nowhere, a weird-looking monster appears right in front of him. Using the broken steering wheel, he smashes the creature in the head with all his strength. From the impact, the monster's head bursts into a bunch of pieces. More infected try to get into the bus from the back. Two huge creatures grab him by the shoulders, trying to bite him. Luckily, he manages to slip his jacket off in time, leaving it in their hands. His situation was seriously bad, but he says at least he still has his backpack. Except the infected are already starting to get in. Realizing the monsters are going to follow him into the bus, he decides his only option is to jump. When he looks out the window, he panics. The bus is completely surrounded by monsters. Outside the bus, an infected tries to climb up. More monsters close in, trying to get into the vehicle any way they can. Up on the roof, the protagonist lets out a relieved sigh and says that was way too close. He notices the monsters' coordination is awful, which means they won't be able to reach the roof. Relieved, he figures he's safe for now. Opening his backpack, he finds a bunch of supplies and a med kit, just like he expected. He drinks some water to kill his thirst. The kit has everything Jing needs to recover, and he takes the chance to eat a little too. But he complains it tastes like paper. Reading the wrapper, he sees the biscuit has all the nutrients you need, except flavor. Tossing the wrapper aside, he says he only ate it because there's nothing else. Endre thinks that if he can get away from this group of monsters, his Uncle Hai shouldn't have any trouble escaping either. Lying under the starry sky, he feels more confident. He decides not to sleep, scared he might roll off the bus roof. Suddenly, a weird hand wakes him up. Freaked out, he sits up and realizes he must have dozed off. When he notices the sun coming up, he sees something strange. A monkey ate all the cakes he had in his backpack. Shocked, he's like, "What the heck is that?" The monkey gets mad and starts yelling at him. Then, all of a sudden, a bunch of other monkeys show up. Panicking, he realizes his backpack is completely empty. Pissed, he yells at the monkeys to give his stuff back. He tries to chase them, but the monkeys are super quick and disappear into the trees. He gets frustrated because he can't catch them. While threatening the little monsters, he notices one of them stayed behind. It was the smallest one, the only one that didn't get away in time, and it's holding the med kit. Endre pulls out his utility knife, determined not to let the little monkey escape up a tree. With a threatening look, he tells the monkey to hand over the med kit, or he's gonna have to get mean. He flicks the blade out, and the other monkeys start screaming like an alarm. Then he runs straight at the little monkey. He tries to grab it, but it jumps first. After that, the little guy ends up slipping off the top of the bus. Annoyed, Endre realizes the monkey ran down below, right where the infected are. Looking around, he sees there aren't any monsters nearby and the bus is empty and safe. From up there, he can tell the monkey was still running. It had gone inside the bus. Just when Endre thinks he's about to catch it, the thing jumps again. He realizes the animal is way faster than he thought. The little monkey starts making faces and sticking its tongue out at him. Annoyed, he wonders if the monkey is straight up messing with him. And just when he thinks it can't get worse, the monkey hops out of the bus. Endre runs after it, trying to grab it. His hand is already really close to one of the animal's legs. But then he freezes when he sees something. Those two little balls were very clearly visible from behind, and it was still sticking its tongue out. But right after that, the little animal drops the med kit. The protagonist goes cold when he sees what's right in front of him. An infected has grabbed the monkey by the tail. The poor thing claws at the ground trying to get away, but it can't move, and it gets absolutely terrified. The other monkeys try to distract it, but it doesn't help. The monster keeps pulling the animal in. Our guy takes advantage of the distraction and stabs the monster's hand with his utility knife. He says it looks like the creature was hiding there, waiting to ambush him, so the monkey manages to slip away through that opening. With the box cutter still stuck in, Endre says he wasn't about to give the monster a chance to escape. Right after that, he pins it down with his knee, and he uses a piece of cloth to kill it quietly, without making any noise. Box cutter in hand, he thanks it for the meds. The protagonist tells the monster to go ask his girlfriend, Nina, for forgiveness, and calls him trash. With one final strike, he finishes the creature off. The little monkey bolts, and the protagonist calls it a thief. But honestly, he's kind of grateful, because thanks to that, he spotted the infected guy first. Suddenly, something smacks him in the face. Confused, he wonders what the hell the monkeys just threw at him. And as he runs back to the shop, he complains that he wasted way too much time. He hopes the shooter is already gone, or Jing's going to be in danger. When he gets there, he's weirded out that the woman's body, the one that got eaten, is gone. He figures someone must have moved it, because dead people don't move on their own. Then, out of nowhere, he hears a scream from inside the shop and panics, thinking it's Jing. He hears the girl begging them to stop. Inside the shop, a man is ripping Jing's clothes. He says what she's wearing is provocative. The guy keeps tearing at her clothes, and when she tries to fight back, she scratches him. Furious, he throws her into a glass display shelf. With tears in her eyes, Jing stares at him, terrified. Another man shows up and warns him not to mess her up too much, because she's crucial for the negotiations. The fat guy says he knows his limits, and that it doesn't matter if the girl's hurt, as long as she's alive. Jing screams, begging them not to do this. She tries to reason with them, saying she gets that they're scared they won't survive, but they don't have to team up with horrible people. She says it was people like that who destroyed the underground city. The fat guy starts laughing nonstop. He mocks her, saying she doesn't know anything. Then he admits they're spies. Jing asks why they did it, why they killed so many innocent people in the quarantine zone. He explains the plan was just to cause chaos to pull her out of the disease control center, but something went wrong. Meanwhile, the protagonist stays hidden, waiting for the right moment. The man tries to grab her again, saying he watched her grow up. Jing gets forced down to the floor. That's when the protagonist comes up behind him, threatening him with the box cutter. At the same time, he tells Jing to get behind him. She's relieved to see him there. The other men in the group show up and ask who's there. Endry threatens them, saying there's infected blood on the blade. But one of the men points a gun at him and asks if Endry's already tried that same trick before. He says he underestimated the kid, and that he didn't die on the day everything went to hell. Our hero recognizes him as the patrol guy who left him in the cell. The other guy just stands there, listening, not understanding any of it. Then the ex-patrol guy says that in the end, Endry's going to die by his hands. Panicking, the fat guy begs him not to shoot. The others freak out too. Endry yells for Jing to duck. With a clean shot, the head of the man who was holding her explodes. The shooter complains that he hit his own partner. Our hero takes the chance to grab Jing and throw himself down the stairs. Pissed that he lost his target, the deserter says he's not letting him get away again. He says the girl was the important one, so they could just get rid of Endry. Using the chaos, Endry grabs Jing and runs, but he complains his waist hurts. The shooter starts firing everywhere. By a hair, our hero manages to escape. The big guy tells his friend to stop shooting, because there's nowhere for them to run anyway. In Endry's arms, Jing warns him they're getting close. Right then, another shot goes off. The protagonist dodges, and it hits the door instead. Now outside, someone comes closer. Endry notices someone watching him, and he puts a finger up, signaling for them to stay quiet. Inside, holding the gun, the big guy says he can see the protagonist. While he's still talking, the mysterious man comes up behind him, and before he even realizes it, the bearded guy gets stabbed with a knife. Endry and Jing are outside, watching it happen. Holding the big guy's gun, the masked man says he's taking it for himself. Inside, the others realize there's someone else there, so they start shooting at him. From the gunfire, the enemy realizes the masked guy is using his friend's weapon, and curious, he asks who that man is. From outside, the guy answers that they don't need to know who he is, and that he just wanted to make it clear he's got a gun in his hands. He makes it clear he doesn't want any trouble, but he's not gonna let anyone hurt two kids. From inside, the men answer that they're not going to hurt the girl, and without realizing it, a shot goes through the gate and hits one of them in the hand. Once again, the masked guy says he warned them not to attack. With a defiant look, the enemy says the man's gonna regret it if he gets caught. His buddy takes it as a challenge and pulls this creepy face. One of them asks if it's really worth risking everything to save two kids. But the deserter seems set on it, and tells his friend to stop yelling, because it looks like they already got away. With his hand wounded, the enemy swears he won't let it slide. He tries to open the door to go after them. The leader stops him, telling him not to open it. He warns that the gunshots have attracted a bunch of infected. Meanwhile, Endry and Jing follow the masked man. Jing asks why the infected are out there during the day. Endry explains that even though they sleep during the day, loud gunshots still draw them in. The masked man says he saw smoke in the underground city and went out to see what was going on, and when he heard the screams, he ran to help. He says they got lucky he made it in time, and that helping them wasn't for nothing. Pointing at the electric fences, he explains they were built to contain the infection, but clearly they didn't work. The protagonist asks who he is. A little awkwardly, he apologizes for talking to himself, saying he hasn't seen people in a long time. He introduces himself as Tengo Bai and says he lives in a mansion just up ahead. When they get there, he mentions the land is elevated and the wall is solid. He explains that back in the day, every entrance had security guards, but now there's only one left open. Smiling, he welcomes them to his paradise in the apocalypse. When they go in, they find a place full of flowers. He explains that since there's nobody else around anymore, everything there is his. He says that after the war, all the survivors moved to the underground city, and he was the only one who stayed behind. Jing asks if that's him in the photos on the wall. She looks at a bunch of pictures with celebrities and some trophies from film festivals. He says he can't stand looking at the past. The girl says she didn't think she'd run into a big star. The protagonist wonders what a movie and a star even are, totally confused. Endry is impressed by how huge the house is. The owner tells him to put Jing on the couch, but Endry wants to take care of her wound first. After cleaning it, he hands over some pills and tells her to take them. Jing refuses to take that many meds. Endry scolds her and says she needs all of it so she doesn't get worse. He makes her take the pills, and she swallows them, annoyed. The protagonist says the antibiotic Tang Go-bai gave her is weird. He notices the production date is from 2 years ago, and wonders how Tang got something from the disease control center. Jing calls him out for doubting the guy, saying if it weren't for him, they'd be dead. She tells him to chill and stop worrying, calling him a pain. Annoyed, he asks why she's looking at him like that and if the fever messed with her brain. The scene cuts to a bloody place. Tang is there, calling out to someone, saying it's his love. On the floor, there's a pair of scissors covered in blood. In the flashback, a young woman had hurt herself with the scissors and complains that her eyes are burning. As she writhes, the man tells her to rest and that he'll heat up water to clean her eyes. But flowers start sprouting from her eyes. She grows fast, becoming huge. The scene returns to the present, with Jing asleep on the couch. Endry asks Tang why he looked so shocked when he saw Jing. He apologizes and says he was just thinking how uncomfortable it must be to sleep like that. The protagonist asks where he's going with the suitcase. He explains it's full of freshly picked vegetables from his greenhouse. He says he sells some of the vegetables on the underground city's black market. That's how he got the medicine for Jing. Feeling embarrassed, the hero realizes he suspected him for no reason and asks how he can repay him. Tang says he doesn't need anything in return, but if he really wants to help, he could do him a favor. He asks Endry to grab some vegetables from the greenhouse for dinner while he heads out, and the protagonist agrees. In the greenhouse, Endry gets thoughtful while looking at the plants. He realizes he has no clue how to tell if the vegetables are ready to pick, since they all look green. So he decides to go for the one that looks the biggest. When you spot a plant you recognize, you can already guess what it is. The scene cuts to a flashback. A guy uses a device to measure pollution in potatoes, warning them not to mix them with water. That's Wang Shu, and she says she wants to take the whole basket of potatoes. But the seller says that with the bullets she has, he'd only sell her half the basket. Annoyed, Endry butts in and says the ammo she has is enough to buy 2 barrels of gasoline. The seller explains that vegetables are expensive because they're hard to get, unlike gasoline. So Wang Shu says she'll just forget it. And, nervous, our hero tells her they'll come back another day. Wang Shu tells them to stop talking nonsense, and says she'll let them try something different. The seller agrees to sell half the basket of potatoes. Back at home, Wang Shu announces her secret mashed potatoes are ready. Everyone tries it. Then they're blown away, saying it's so good they could remember it for 10 years. She walks up to Endry and asks if he liked it. Back in the present, he thinks that only he and Wang Shu knew the tunnel connected to the surface, and he decides he'll look for her after he finds his uncle. Distracted, he ends up yanking the potato plant out, roots and all. Remembering what Wang Shu said, he decides to take one potato and bury the rest so new ones can grow. As he digs a hole, he gets ready to put the potato in the ground. Suddenly, he feels something weird in the soil. He wonders what it is, maybe fertilizer. When he picks it up, he realizes it's a human finger. The scene cuts somewhere else, where the man tells someone to eat slowly. He'd brought a dead body there. An infected creature was devouring it. He tells the monster he had more food, but he got infected and the supplies are gone. But he's already found a replacement, and that the little boy has a nice firm body and is easy to chew. He offers the little boy to the creature, saying it'll be right up its alley. He says Jing can stay alive to help him around the house. The creature gets angry and lunges at him, making Tang Go-bai fall backward. Nervous, he starts cursing at it. Grabbing a piece of wood, he gets ready to hit it. He smacks the creature hard in the head, saying it needs to be taught a lesson. Pissed off, he says it keeps trying to bite him even after everything he's done for it. He says he has to take care of everything day and night. Then he curses at it again and hits it again, snapping the wood in half. In the corner, the infected one keeps grumbling. Tang Go-bai watches it with a creepy smile. Reaching out his hand, he says the creature is right. He puts his hand on its head and says it should be gentle, and that it should rest in peace. Then he whispers that if that girl ever gets annoying, he'll put her in a suitcase and bring her to the creature. Back in the greenhouse, our hero wonders why there are human bones buried there. Furious, he realizes the man is using human bones as fertilizer. He understands the man has been lying the whole time. Nothing he said about going to the city at dawn made any sense. He concludes the crossbow shooter was actually Tang himself. Mad at himself, he realizes he was an idiot for bringing Jing straight into the shooter's den. Suddenly, Endry feels his legs go weak and he collapses to the floor. He realizes it was the water he drank, and that the weird taste was something the man put in it. Angry, he blames himself for getting tricked, and for letting Jing talk him into not being suspicious. His head starts pounding and he feels like he's about to pass out. He fights to stay awake. Pressing an acupuncture point, he tries to keep his breathing going so he won't fall asleep. He heads down the stairs, determined not to let his bones end up as fertilizer. The masked man comes back to the house. With a smile, he says it's time for the next act. He opens the door and calls out to them, saying he's back so they can have lunch together. He realizes they're not there, and wonders if they didn't eat anything. He opens the bedroom door and says they must be starving. Suddenly, he hears a noise. He realizes it's coming from the kitchen, and that the meds are kicking in. As he goes down, he hears the sound of someone vomiting and asks if the protagonist is okay. He asks if that sound is vomiting, and explains he put a sleeping pill in the drink to help them rest. He says it's not good for the body to keep throwing up like that. Smiling, he says the boy must be overthinking things. He opens the door and offers to explain if there are any questions. In the kitchen, the main guy is holding a pot in his hands. The second Tang gets close. Endry makes his move, and right then, the man realizes he's about to get burned. Pissed off, the protagonist throws the pot of boiling water in his face, telling him to keep up the act. The man screams in pain, yelling that it's hot. He tries to wipe it off, but his skin is already badly burned. The protagonist shoves him into another room and locks him in. From inside, the guy curses our hero out and complains about the pain. He wonders how Endry was still awake and how he figured out the hot water. Furious, he says he wanted to be nice and kill him in his sleep, but that he's just trash who doesn't know how to appreciate his performance. Then he notices the door doesn't even have a key, but he still can't open it, because outside Endry jammed it with a chair. Totally worked up, he says he'll get our hero when he gets out. He swears he'll make him suffer and kill him slowly. Going down the stairs, the protagonist forces himself to stay awake. He runs to wake Jing, who is still asleep. When she won't wake up, he throws her over his shoulder. Then he hears a noise and looks over. The man starts hacking at the door with a knife. Laughing, he says there's nowhere to run, because the doors are locked. Then Endry grabs something. He picks up a trophy to use as a weapon. He winds up and throws it at part of the glass door. But to his disappointment, it doesn't do anything. He's shocked at how tough the door is. At that moment, Tang manages to shove the chair out of the way. He laughs and says all the glass is bulletproof, and his house is basically a fortress. Coming down the stairs, he says hide and seek has started, and he wanted to see if the kid was any good at hiding. The protagonist realizes the drugs are strong, and he's not going to last much longer. Then he spots the open hall windows and runs for them. Suddenly, he freezes when he runs straight into that bastard blocking the way. Without hesitation, Tang attacks, asking where Endry thinks he's going. Then he starts landing blow after blow on him. Trying to protect Jing, our hero ends up cutting his arm. Now he's trapped, not knowing what to do. Up close, Tang says there's nowhere left for him to run, but he notices an open door next to him. So Endry slips into the room and tries to shut it, but the bastard wedges a hand in, trying to stop it. He threatens to slice the protagonist into little pieces. The door starts giving way under the hits, and then Tang shoves hard, knocking Endry and Jing down. Unfortunately, our hero falls toward the stairs and tumbles all the way down. At the top, with Jing, Tang cackles at the whole thing. The man turns on the light in the creepy place. The protagonist wakes up, not understanding where he is. He freaks out when he sees a bunch of backpacks and suitcases hanging on the wall. Tango Bai walks up and asks what he thinks of his loot. He grabs him by the hair and yanks him up. He says anything people leave behind ends up in his collection. Then he drags him out of the room. Jing is sprawled on the floor, watching everything in fear. Meanwhile, Tang keeps dragging Endry outside. The girl cries quietly, unable to do anything. Outside, the man dumps the protagonist into a shopping cart. He comments that he needs to pick up some supplies. Jing hides behind a bush, wondering where he's taking Endry. Limping, she decides to follow them, even though her injury still hurts. With a trophy in her hand, Jing gets ready to attack the guy from behind, waiting for a chance to save the protagonist. Meanwhile, Tango Bai heads toward an area full of roots. Jing follows quietly, trying not to be seen. Suddenly he turns his head, and she ducks, scared she's been spotted. Looking at Endry, he says the kid is drooling a lot with the sun hitting his face. He says he's going to take care of a few things and then come back to play with him. Relieved, Jing realizes that was way too close. Then she suddenly hears a scream. The man goes down the stairs and into a basement. He complains about the traps on the fence and how ignorant idiots ruined his moment. And while he messes with something down there, he swears he'll get revenge. Still hiding, Jing panics when she realizes there's an infected person asleep on the floor. Outside, the mansion looks calm, but you can hear screams. The siren at the gate starts blaring. The deserter patrolman's partner asks for help getting the trap off. The man replies that he warned him to be careful. He says he doesn't think he can help him. Annoyed, he says the guy screamed so loud that whoever set the trap must have heard it, and that if they stay there, they're screwed. Tang runs toward the noise. Hiding, he realizes the sound came from that spot. He finds the body of the man who fell into the trap and calls him an idiot. He figures the guy lost a ton of blood and died because he wasn't watching where he stepped. He assumes the guy tried to take a shortcut and ended up paying for it. Smiling, he says the harvest was good and that the man showed up at the perfect time. Suddenly, he gets attacked and panics. The guy who pretended to be dead grabs his foot. That's when the bastard realizes he walked right into a trap. Meanwhile, outside, the deserter gets ready and fires. It's a direct hit, sending Tang flying. The other guy is even impressed by how good the shot was. Right after that, the deserter heads to the gate and thinks about going into the mansion. There's probably useful stuff inside. So his partner warns him to watch out for the spikes on the fence. But the shooter gets confused when he looks at Tang. He realizes Tang's body didn't spill a single drop of blood. Then, out of nowhere, a crossbow shows up. Tango Bai is still alive. Turns out he's wearing a vest. And then all hell breaks loose, shots flying everywhere. The deserter ducks fast to avoid getting hit. With a hand on his chest, Tang says he took a few precautions. Still, he complains the impact was brutal. Standing up, the ex-patrol guy says it's too late to regret messing with the wrong person. He wants them to hand over Jing, but the long-haired guy says there are more traps in his house. Hearing that the house is his, the masked guy is confused. He says the owner of the mansion wouldn't know how to manage crops and keep boars away, and that the place belongs to someone else. But right then, the man gets hit by an arrow. Tang had been hiding behind a wall while using his crossbow, but the other intruder says he won't be caught that easily. He even says they think alike, says they've got a common interest, but it doesn't look like Tang agrees. Jing wakes up in a dark place and calls out for the protagonist. She searches around the room and finds him behind some bars. He's on the floor, passed out. She tries to wake him up, telling him he can't just sleep there. Suddenly, she hears a noise outside. She notices a face coming up right next to her. A hand reaches through the bars and asks who's there. Grabbing Jing's arm, he tells her not to scream. Says he's human, not a monster. She apologizes, and he says he doesn't blame her. He gets that his appearance is pretty shocking. He asks if she's from the disease control center, recognizing the watch on her wrist. He explains that the thing has other functions besides telling time. Jing realizes the watch isn't what it looks like, and that it's how they found her. She even remembers what the chubby guy said, that he'd find her anywhere. And the old man keeps explaining that he knows because he used to pull them off dead bodies. With that, Jing realizes he was from the underground and asks why he's there, locked up. He says it's for the same reason as the protagonist. Tang was behind everything. He says he worked for the pharma company in the underground city, but he found out some secrets. So he bribed the black market to help him escape so he wouldn't get taken out. He was supposed to meet a man named Tang, who would give him shelter and food. He says sometimes Tang would come back with blood on his shoes, claiming it was from infected people trying to jump the wall. But because of how the wall was built, he knew there was no way the monsters could climb it. So to figure out why Tang was lying, he started quietly watching him. In the end, he caught Tang cooking in the kitchen while he was asleep, and wanting to mess with him for fun, he snuck up silently. He slaps him and yells that he caught him red-handed, asks what delicious food Tang's been making in secret. But then he breaks out in a cold sweat when he actually sees it. In the pan, there are 2 big chunks of meat. The old man says what was frying there was a steak he hadn't seen in years. He explains to Jing that in the world now, the only meat you can safely eat without getting infected is meat from a healthy person. Jing is completely horrified. He says he was even more shocked than she is. After going back to his room and packing his bag to run from that monster, he went to sleep. When he woke up, feeling dizzy, he wondered why he couldn't see anything. Tang shows up and says he'll never see daylight again, while the guy screams, asking what he did. With this evil look, Tang says it wouldn't really matter anymore whether he could see or not from now on. Shocked, Jing realizes he ripped the old man's eyes out. The blind old man says the people locked in that basement were treated like food. He warns that really soon, her friend will end up like him too, and tells the little girl to listen carefully. He says they have to find a way to open that door, otherwise her friend will meet the same fate as everyone else down there. Using the trophy, Jing tries to smash the lock with all her strength, saying she's going to get him out. The man says it's pointless, because she needs the keys Tang keeps tied to his waist. Desperate, the girl wonders how she's supposed to do that. He says it's her call, but she needs to get out of there now, because if that guy comes back, it's over. Outside, Tang complains that his whole body hurts when he tries to breathe, and that it'll be a problem if he runs out of strength. Dragging the other man's heavy body, he grumbles that the guy weighs like a pig. In a flashback, Tang explains his method of using fertilizer to grow crops. A man praises him for having a gardener who feeds them without needing to go outside. Tang says he's good at planting, and gets praised by a film director. The director asks if Tang ever wanted to be an actor, and says he's planning a movie about them. He describes the movie, King of the Last Days, and offers Tang a role. Happy, Tang thanks director Wang and promises he won't let him down. Half a month later, Tang is worried because things outside are getting worse and worse, and there's still that infected woman in the basement. The director calms him down, saying they're the last humans and they're in control. Then Tang serves the man coffee, but he throws it all on the floor. Tang cries while the director criticizes his crappy Mandarin even after months. The director keeps humiliating him, calling him useless and worthless. Yelling, he tells Tang to shut up and go make him another tea. Annoyed, the director complains that Tang lives in his house and can't do anything right. The scene cuts to him whipping the infected woman in the basement. Fascinated, he notices flowers really are growing out of her wound. The director thanks Tang with a smile while swinging the whip. Tang suddenly steps in, asking the director to stop hitting her. He says Miss Nana has already lost a lot of blood and won't survive it. Furious, the director tells him to get lost, threatening to beat both of them. To the director's surprise, Tang refuses to leave. Tang snaps, saying he's not going to keep being treated like a slave. The director yells that he owns the house and kicks him out on the spot. Tang forcefully grabs the director's hand, and the director is shocked by how bold he's being. As the director screams in pain, Tang says there's no point keeping something around if it's a problem. With a dark look, he thinks about making the man disappear, freaking him out. From upstairs, you can hear screaming. When Tang comes out, someone else asks if something happened. To cover it up, he says the director needed help downstairs. Panicking, the man says he warned them they couldn't bring Nina back. With a nasty look, Tang apologizes and starts choking him. He says he's made up his mind, because the world can't go back to how it was before. If everyone who knows him disappears, that place will belong to him alone. With a dark look, he says he doesn't need to live under anyone's care anymore. Back in the present, the shooter who fell into the trap is tied up while Tang gets something ready. The guy asks what Tang's story has to do with him. Tang says maybe there's no reason, just that they're both human. Holding a tool, he says the best listeners are the ones who can't talk. Breaking out in a cold sweat, the masked guy says if Tang does anything to him, there'll be consequences. Tang tells him to shut up, saying everyone who comes into his house follows his rules. The man screams in pain as blood sprays everywhere. Tang had sliced him open across the middle of his stomach, but he was still alive. Without showing any emotion, the psycho keeps hurting him. Crying, the masked guy says if Tang isn't going to kill him, then just cut him into pieces already. Tang tells him to stop screaming. He's just stopping the bleeding. With a dark look, he says he's keeping him alive, because Nana likes her food fresh. From inside the cell, Endry watches the horrible scene. With a creepy look, Tang asks if he's finally awake. He tells Endry to thank the other guy, because the next one on the list was him. Right after that, the psycho starts coughing. When he looks at his hand, he realizes it's smeared with blood. The main guy taunts him, daring him to open the door so he can rip his arm off. Tang says soon he won't even have the strength to lift his head, he'll be so hungry. He suggests Endry talk to the old man to find out what it's like to have a limb removed. While Tang laughs like a maniac, the protagonist just gets angrier. After that, Tang heads back to the mansion's main room. He finds Jing still asleep on the couch, and realizes the sleeping pill dose was strong. Suddenly, Tang feels a sharp pain in his chest, doubles over, and starts writhing. Staring at the sleeping girl, he wonders what's so special about her that people are hunting her this hard. He blames her for what's happening to him, and says she'll have to make it up to him later. In the cell, our hero tries to force the bars, pissed because he doesn't have his tools. The blind old man tells him not to waste his energy. There's no way to open it with brute force. He says their only hope is the protagonist's friend managing to get the prison key. Our hero says he hates to say it, but, from the looks of it, the old man really is blind, because there's no way a dummy like Jing could steal the keys. Cut to Jing, tears in her eyes. The key she needs is in the man's pants. With the keyring in sight, she waits for Tang to fall asleep so she can make a move. So she starts inching closer, little by little. But to her disappointment, Tang wakes up and grabs her arm. He asks what she thought she was doing while he was taking a nap. Panicking, the girl doesn't even know what to say. But to her surprise, the psycho tells her not to cry. He apologizes for yelling, and seeing the bottle in her hand, he assumes she was just going to clean his wound. She was actually planning to throw it in his eyes, but decides to pretend it really was to clean him up. On the table, medical supplies are scattered everywhere. He blames Jing's pursuers for his injuries and wonders how they found her. The girl realizes she needs to get rid of her trackers so they can't find her again. Tang reassures her, saying he scared them off and that this place is safe. Then he coughs up blood again. He says he dislocated a rib, and that's a bit more serious. Tang asks her to help bandage him, because he can't secure it properly by himself. Confused, Jing asks what a triangular bandage is, and he says it's simple. He tells her to run the bandages over each arm and one shoulder. Then he says she should use the scissors to cut it and tie it tight. And when Jing sees the scissors, she thinks this might be her chance. All of a sudden, Tang asks why she doesn't seem to care that the protagonist is missing. She realizes she should have pretended she didn't know where he was. To change the subject, she asks about the TV tower, which throws Tang off. Jing lies, saying Endry went to the tower alone because his leg was hurt. Tang goes quiet, staring at her with a suspicious look. Nervous, she realizes he might have seen through her lie. Laughing, he pretends to believe her, and says he stayed behind so he could take care of her. She's relieved. She managed to get the scissors. After cutting the bandage, she says she's done wrapping him up. Tang thanks her, saying it doesn't hurt as much now that it's secured. She's shocked he actually thanked her. He offers her new clothes, saying hers are torn and he grabbed these from other houses. He adds that when her friend comes back, he'll think he didn't treat her well. Holding the scissors, she thinks about what a bastard he is. He almost killed Endry. Fuming, she can't understand how he can say that with a smile. Then something catches her attention. Tang crouches down and looks outside. His face turns to pure panic. Then he turns to her and asks what's wrong. Pointing, she says there's someone outside, in the mansion courtyard. She says the moment the person realized she'd been seen, they ducked and hid fast. Even though the windows are bulletproof, Jing reminds him the upstairs balcony is open. She says earlier, she and Endry opened it to try to get a look at the TV tower. Freaking out, he takes off running, saying she should have told him sooner. Tang says he's going to check the upstairs windows and doors, and tells her to find somewhere to hide. With a serious look, he tells her she's not allowed to leave the hiding spot until he calls her. The girl agrees, looking scared. But honestly, she's already managed to grab the keyring and is hiding it. So without wasting any time, she runs down to the basement, even with her leg hurt. She's determined to save the protagonist and get out of that place as fast as possible. Going down the stairs, Tang says he's checked all the doors and windows, and now it's safe. Smiling, he calls out for Jingli, offering her clean clothes to change into. He insists she come out, saying the danger's already over. Confused by the silence, he starts searching the room, wondering where she's hiding. Then he suddenly notices his pants have been cut and his keys are gone. Furious, he curses the girl out, pissed that she dared to trick him. Down in the basement, the protagonist is shocked and asks how Jing got the keys. Annoyed, she asks if he wants to argue, or if she should save his life first. Desperate, our hero yells at her to open the door fast before they die. Once the cell is open, Jing tells him to get out already, and he's surprised at how fast she did it. Thanking her, he helps the blind old man up so they can get out of there. Endry warns them to watch where they step. The tied-up shooter begs them not to leave him behind and to untie him. If they won't take him, he asks them to just kill him now, because he doesn't want to turn into one of the undead. The protagonist reminds him that he tried to kill him earlier, and now he wants to be saved. With a grin, Endry picks up an axe and says it's not a bad tool. The man says Endry's right, but in the end, they didn't actually hurt him. He also says there's no way he could hurt Endry anyway, since he's badly injured and missing a hand. So our hero says he'll grant his request. With a quick motion, he raises the axe, ready to strike. To the shooter's surprise, he cuts his ropes instead of killing him. Our hero explains he only helped so he wouldn't turn into a disgusting monster like Tang. He warns him that next time, he won't care whether he finds him alive or dead. As the protagonist turns to leave, the masked man calls out to him. He tells him to stay away from the pharmaceutical company's headquarters if he wants the girl to live. Then the protagonist shuts the door, leaving the man alone. While they're escaping, the protagonist asks why he passed out from the drug and she didn't. Jing explains that the drug concentration in her blood is different from normal people's. She says the effects wear off fast, and the blind old man asks her name. Suddenly, Jing signals for everyone to be quiet. She whispers for them to walk carefully, because they need to get through there silently. Our hero freaks out when he sees the infected creature Tang had kept locked up. Trying to calm down, he tries to slip past without being noticed. The infected woman mutters a few words under her breath. When he passes in front of her, the masked man looks confused. He realizes the infected woman is completely chained up. Then, horrified, he sees the thing is eating the hand Tang had cut off him. With eyes full of hate, the creature and the shooter lock eyes. Furious, the man raises a butcher knife, yelling that he's going to cut her into pieces. With a brutal swing, he hits the creature with all his strength. The creature starts screaming in pain. Then it rushes at him to attack. To dodge, the masked man takes a few steps back. He tells her she's chained up and can't reach him. The creature just growls back, baring its sharp teeth. Suddenly, the shooter looks confused and wonders if she's about to throw up. The infected opens her mouth, dripping with saliva. Then she sticks out her tongue, and her tongue starts splitting open, like it has a mind of its own. From that messed up mouth, the creature spits slime at high speed. At the same time, it shoots out a few spikes. Those things latch onto his body, and he panics. He's even more shocked when he realizes they start moving. Roots begin to grow, wrapping around his whole arm. Outside, while they're running, Jing asks Endry if he heard something. Supporting the blind old man, she looks back and asks what that noise was. Our hero wonders if the shooter got caught, and says they need to hurry. Suddenly, Tang shows up armed and yells that he finally caught them. Pointing the gun at them, he says anyone who messes with him has to die. Endry yells for Jing to be careful and shoves her, along with the old man, down to duck. He tells the girl to hide in the bushes, where Tang wouldn't be able to aim properly. While they're hiding, Tang starts moving around the courtyard to hunt them down. Pissed off, he yells that she's ungrateful and that she's the one who caused this whole mess. From their hiding spot, Endry warns that Tang is getting closer and that they shouldn't come out. Not knowing where they are, Tang fires arrows into the bushes. He says they better hide well, because the moment he sees anyone, he'll shoot. Hidden in the bushes, Jing and the blind old man try to sneak away, crouching as fast as they can. As soon as they get the chance, they bolt. But an arrow hits the old man right in the leg, and he drops to the ground. Jing crouches down and apologizes to him. From his hiding place, our hero sees the old man got hit, and that Tang is coming. With this nasty look on his face, Tang walks up and calls them ungrateful and disrespectful. While Jing helps the old man up, Henry decides he has to fight him. Coming out from behind the bushes, the protagonist starts running toward them. He plans to hit Tang at an angle to avoid vital spots in case he gets struck. Sprinting as fast as he can, he braces for a showdown with the psycho. Nearby, the ground suddenly explodes, blasting dirt and debris everywhere. The infected one bursts out. Her body's way stronger now, and she manages to grab the masked guy. With nowhere to go, he starts screaming nonstop. From a distance, Jing and the blind old man are horrified. Confused, our hero gets ready to attack while Tang just stands there. But then both of them realize the creature escaped. And in no time, she manages to turn the man too. Annoyed, the protagonist yells at the masked guy for being an idiot and drawing the monster's attention. Now, with two infected in the area, they rush into attack. Panicking, our hero realizes they've been spotted and there's no way to run off with the others injured. They're really fast, and they'll catch up any second. Tang is confused, wondering how the masked guy got infected, since he was supposed to be locked up. Right then, Henry shouts for Jing to run, because there isn't much time left. He knows he can't handle the infected and Tang at the same time. Jing finds an open door and calls to Henry, telling him to hurry up and get inside. Our hero sprints for the door with the creature right behind him. As soon as they get in, the door shuts, leaving Tang outside, begging them to open it. Henry holds the door, trying to think of an escape plan. With no other option, Tang decides to use his crossbow. He aims at the infected. First he hits the masked one, but the creature's tough and gets back up fast. Even while running, the infected are already almost on top of Tang. Hidden inside, the protagonist praises Jing for being smart, saying they're safe now. Then Jing freezes when she looks up. The protagonist looks too and can't believe what he's seeing either. The creature climbed up the wall and is already close. Next, it spits this slimy spike. Henry blocks it with his axe. Even so, the flower opens up, trying to roll into him. The blind old man explains it's a rare, advanced type and yells at him to run. Our hero smashes the thing against the wall. He tells the others to hide inside the house while he distracts it. The creature chases him, trying to reach him with its claws. But Henry gives it everything he's got and runs as fast as he can. He turns into another alley and starts running out of space. He spins around fast, making the infected slam into the wall. Then he grabs a door handle and by a hair, makes it through the glass door in time. Outside, the monster closes in. Henry complains because he knows the door won't hold for long. He yells for Jing to grab a piece of wood to jam the door. Little by little, the glass starts cracking. Shouting, he tells the girl to hurry, because the door won't last much longer. Jing finds the wood and wedges the door shut, warning the others. But even with it jammed, they can tell it won't stop the thing. The glass is about to completely shatter from the monster's blows. The monstrous creature presses hard against the already cracked glass. Desperate, Jing asks what they're going to do, thinking they're trapped. The blind old man tells them not to panic. He says he'll be the bait, while the two of them hide and get ready to strike. Our hero questions the plan, saying if he misses, the old man will die. The man shows his fatal wound, explaining he's already at his limit. He says he can still be useful at the end, and tells them to go now because there's no time left. The old man reveals he knew Jing's mother back when she was still pregnant. He calls the girl by the codename Go-To, leaving her totally stunned. As the door starts giving way, Jing asks if it's true that he knew her mother. The man says his fate was to find her and apologize for everything. With one final crash, the glass in the door shatters into countless pieces. The monstrous creature finally manages to get inside. The monster charges in, and the old blind man yells for the young guy to attack right then. With all his strength, the protagonist rushes forward. He lands a hit right in the middle of the infected one's head. The old man freezes, picturing what just happened. But unfortunately, the monster manages to grab him and starts attacking. Blood starts pouring from his mouth and nose. The monster's arm punches straight through the blind old man's chest. Jing moves closer, but he tells her she doesn't need to worry about him. Then Henry takes the chance to ask if the old man knows where Jing's mother is. With his last breath, the man warns them to go south and never come back. And right after that, the creature shoves its arm in even deeper, ending the old man's life. The protagonist realizes he didn't hit the brain and the monster is still alive. The creature keeps forcing its arm through the old man, pushing it out the other side. Our hero says the creature drinks blood to heal and that they need to get out of there now. He grabs Jing, saying the old man is already dead and they'll be next if they stay. Going up the stairs, Jing asks if it isn't a dead end. She says running out into the open with so many dangers is basically asking to die. Carrying her, he says her brain is slow, not his plan. After sucking up all the blood, the infected woman gets even stronger. Still on the stairs, Jing warns that the monster is catching up. The protagonist tells Jing Li they need to split up to survive. He explains she's too slow and tells her to hide while he lures the monster away. As soon as she hears the creature chasing him, she needs to run immediately. Worried, Jing reminds him the upper floor is a dead end. Carrying a bag of cement, he says he's got his own plan, and she's slowing him down. Our hero holds the bag while getting the creature's attention. As soon as it reaches the spot he wants, he drops the cement. But to his surprise, it manages to dodge. With nowhere else to go, he runs to another corner, keeping its attention. He grabs another bag of cement and throws it again. With its claws, the infected one rips the bag open. But that kicks up a huge cloud of dust, so it can't see. Running, he celebrates that the plan worked, realizing the houses all have the same layout. He climbs up onto some scaffolding, knowing that, like before, the creature won't be able to reach him up there. On the ground, the monster almost grabs his foot. Once he's up, Henry starts bragging and dares the monster to come at him. That cocky smile disappears when he realizes the thing climbed up too. To his shock, the creature makes an insane jump, showing its real strength. Right after that, it starts spitting spikes. On the ground, Henry thinks he's out of options, but he grabs a plank and uses it like a shield so he doesn't get hit. The monster lunges at him, and the protagonist panics. The plank he was using to defend himself snaps in half. Trying to run, he sees there's nowhere left to go. He's on the roof, and it's really high. With the creature that close, he admits he messed up and this is the end. The protagonist almost gets nailed in the head by a brutal strike. But when he opens his eyes, he realizes the tongue didn't reach him. Jing shows up and grabs the monster's chain, yelling for him to get out of there. The creature gets yanked back by the chain, which is hooked to its collar. He scolds her for following him, but she yells that she can't hold on anymore. With insane strength, the monster whips itself forward with a twist. The force of the pull makes Jing lose her balance. She gets dragged along and ends up falling off the roof. Still holding the chain, the girl drops while screaming. The protagonist freaks out when he sees what happened. But halfway down, the chain steadies. The monster tries to pull back so she won't fall all the way. Even so, her body gets jerked around, and she ends up hanging there, trying to climb back up. Furious, the protagonist calls it a freak and says it's not going to hurt Jing Li. With a wooden plank, he tries to smash the thing. On the first swing, the infected one dodges. Right after that, it opens its mouth to spit spikes, but Endry quickly winds up another hit. This time, he cracks the monster in the head and says he's going to crush its tongue. The blow stuns it, and the creature starts screaming. With its mouth injured, it thrashes around in pain from the brutal hit. Getting ready to kick, our hero puts all his strength into it, and with his foot in the creature's face, he grabs the axe that was stuck in its head. Then he starts yanking the weapon out, trying to pull it free from its guts. Finally, he manages to rip it out, leaving the infected woman groaning in pain. Now, with something sharp, he gets ready to shut her up for good. But hanging there, Jing warns that she's still there, being held up by the chain. Endry hesitates, because he knows if he kills the monster, it'll fall, and Jing will too. Meanwhile, the creature keeps holding on with its claws. Jing tells him to let the monster climb up. With her body almost reaching the balcony, she asks him to let it come up a little more. As the creature climbs, he gets ready to attack. Jing swings herself toward the balcony and tells the protagonist she made it. He yells her name, ready to strike the creature that just reached the top. Finally, she says she managed to grab on and get onto the balcony. Screaming for the creature to go to hell, Endry readies the final blow. With all his rage, he raises the axe, ready to end it. Meanwhile, the other infected is still alive, but then an arrow goes straight through its head. The one underneath it was Tang. Relieved, Tang shoves the dead monster off of him. Even though the guy was wearing a mask, he still ended up dying like an infected. Tang groans in pain, knowing his bones are fractured. He staggers toward his crossbow, feeling his body get heavy. With a lot of effort, he limps along, calling out for Nana, the infected. He starts limping back toward the mansion, still calling her name. Meanwhile, a loud noise echoes through the whole place. Endry manages to hit the monster right in the face. Its body gets thrown backward and drops from up high. Seeing he finally beat the infected, our hero celebrates. From the balcony, Jing praises her friend, saying he's amazing. But he thinks about how hard it is to feel happy after everything they've been through, and what's still coming. From downstairs, the girl calls to him, and he says he's coming down. Down below, the body gets completely impaled on the scaffolding. When they get closer, they're shocked. It's still moving. They watch in horror at the terrifying toughness of that advanced infected. Our hero tells her not to be scared, because the monster's damaged parts don't heal anymore. He explains that when an infected loses too much blood, all you have to do is cut its head off. Just as Endry is about to rip the thing's head off, someone tells him to stop. It's Tang walking up. He begs them not to kill her. He comes closer, coughing and pleading for them to stop. Endry pulls Jing behind him and tells Tang not to come any closer. Tang holds up his hands, saying he's unarmed and needs help. Crying, he offers them anything they want, anything they need. Endry and Jing are surprised by how Tang is acting. He says Nana was the only person who understood him, and the only one who listened to everything he had to say. But really, he's just pretending to be sorry. Tang is planning to kill the protagonist and use his blood to cure Nana. And for a moment, the two of them just stand there, trying to figure out what to do with this lunatic. Then our hero notices something. With a serious look, he tells Jingli to back off. Tang's face looks weird. She hides behind him and agrees it really is changing. Confused, Tang asks what they're talking about. Turns out the infected had pierced his head with its roots. He was willing to give his own blood to help the creature recover. Our hero steps forward, saying this is all the guy's own fault. Tang gives this creepy smile, and right after that, the protagonist punches him in the face. The scene cuts to a flashback. A guard greeting Director Wang. Inside the car, the director is with a woman, Nana. Then the guard lifts the gate for him. Tang works as a gardener. Sweating, he says that if he had a life like the director's, it would all be worth it. He sighs, saying just thinking about it already makes him feel amazing. Back in the present, the protagonist helps Jing walk. He scolds her for not meeting him downstairs, and she says they'd already be dead if she had. She asks what the point of surviving would be if she abandoned him. Annoyed, he says surviving is the only thing that matters in that world. She says living is more than just surviving, and she blames herself for the deaths. She says she has to do this to honor the sacrifices of the people who died for her. Crying, Jing says it's her fault because she wasn't good enough, and she never wanted things to turn out like this. The scene shifts to a flashback, with young Jing reading a book about Peter Pan. A noise at the window grabs her attention, and she finds a firefly. Curious, she wonders what the little bug is doing in there. Smiling, she asks the firefly to keep her company in that lonely place. Suddenly, Dr. Chin shows up and crushes the firefly with a book. Annoyed, the doctor scolds her for bringing outside things near her. Commander Hai appears and apologizes, saying it was his mistake. The doctor warns him to never bring that kind of thing again, because Jing Li needs to be safe. That really hurts Jing. Crying, she asks why the firefly had to die for no reason. Hai comes over, worried, and asks her to stop crying. Back in the present, Endry gets irritated and asks why she's crying when she says she wants to be stronger. She wipes her tears, and our hero says he'll teach her how to get stronger. With her eyes full of hope, she asks if he's serious. He says they can start tomorrow, because if she gets quicker, he'll live longer. After all, she already saved him even while she was hurt, so she can do way more than that. They make a pinky promise to never change for 100 years. In the bathroom, Jing gets ready to cut something with a pair of scissors. With a snipping sound, locks of her hair fall to the floor. While she's cutting it, Endry asks why she's taking so long. She asks what the rush is, saying they can watch the TV station from right there anyway. He tells her to get dressed. He found some clothes in the basement for her to wear. When she opens the door, she comments that the shirt he found is a little small. With new clothes and her hair braided, she says she feels more comfortable now. Blushing, he looks at her hair, and she explains she cut it so it won't get in the way. Then she asks if there's anything else they need to bring. He says the basement was like a treasure chest, full of essential supplies for them. He hands her a smaller, lighter backpack so she won't get tired on the way. Surprised, she realizes he's giving her his special combat utility knife. Endry explains that since she's immune, she can survive bites that would kill other people. He teaches her to aim the blade at the enemy's chin to destroy the brain. He says he also put a gun and some bug spray in her backpack. Somewhere else, a man with a tracker smiles and says he found something. Then he suddenly comes across a scene and looks shocked. With a gun in his hand, he stares at Tang and Nana's bodies, disappointed. He complains that Tang got taken out by 2 kids after all that training. The man knows it doesn't matter if they threw the tracker away. He already knows where they're headed. Smirking, he calls them brats and gets ready to go after them. Meanwhile, our hero and Jing run into a huge gate blocking the way. He complains it's another dead end and they can't get out. Jing wonders how people used to travel before, saying this place is more complicated than a tunnel. She explains people travel by car, using wide roads. Annoyed, he asks if she thinks he's an idiot, and says he knows what cars are. Smiling, she suggests they look for a map to find the TV station. But our hero shuts her down, asking if she thinks a map is just going to magically appear. So the girl says they should look for a really big hotel. And she says Dr. Chin taught her that hotels used to give tourists maps. He asks if she's ever been up on the surface before. And she says yes, she went out with Dr. Chin a few years ago. That's when they found Uncle Hai. But Endry wasn't with them. Smiling, he says he was breaking his chains and chasing freedom. Suddenly, Jing spots something and excitedly points. It's a big hotel. Exactly what they needed to find a map. Excited, Jing says her legs feel better and suggests they go inside. The protagonist stops her and tells her to look at the ground near the entrance. He notices someone's been there. The rain left footprints in the mud. Our hero figures some people took shelter there, but there must be infected inside, so they ran toward the TV station instead. He says he'll go look for a map and tells Jing to wait outside, where it's safer. She agrees and tells him to be careful, promising she'll help if there's danger. He tells her to stay put. She wouldn't stand a chance helping him in there. When he goes in, he smells the strong stench of an infected in the darkness. He wonders how many infected were there to cause that kind of mutation in the place. Relieved, he thanks whatever group came before for clearing the way for them. He heads toward the front desk, remembering Jing said the maps were kept there. Then, to his shock, he runs into a whole horde of infected. The entire hallway is packed with monsters, and suddenly those footprints outside make sense. Terrified, he realizes the hotel is basically an infected nest and bolts. Then he notices the monsters are asleep and feels relieved. It was a false alarm. He's still shaking, like he almost pissed himself from the scare. He decides to grab the map at the front desk and get out of there immediately. Suddenly, he's staring at a body with one eye still open. Freaked out, he curses and backs away, trying not to make any noise. Then he realizes it's actually two bodies, bitten and killed before they could turn. He figures they were attacked by infected and then put down by their own teammates. All of a sudden, one of the infected starts moving, and he realizes he's not alone. With a growl, one of the monsters wakes up, flashing sharp teeth. It slowly gets up, ready to go for him. He braces to fight, thinking if he's gonna take it out, he has to do it quietly. In one quick move, he lunges in, setting up for the finishing blow. Meanwhile, Jing picks a flower from a tree. Excited, she celebrates actually managing to grab it. Holding it in her hands, she comments on how soft it smells and how pretty it is. Then she hears a noise and turns around, surprised by what she sees. A cute little monkey shows up in her shopping cart. The monkey tries to grab her bag, and she yells at it, begging it not to run off. She wonders why it's hiding and starts looking around for it nearby. With a suspicious look, the monkey ducks away, and she tells it to come out. Smiling, she offers the flower she picked, trying to befriend it. Curious, the little monkey sniffs the flower and seems to like the gift. Suddenly, a rock hits the monkey, scaring it and knocking it to the ground. Furious, the protagonist yells, calling the monkey a thief for stealing his stuff. Confused, Jing asks why he did that. With a threatening look, he warns the monkey not to try to run. He fires another rock with his slingshot and nails the monkey dead on. It hits hard and sends it flying from the impact. He cheers, saying the monkey got what it deserved. With his boot on the little monkey, he scolds it for being so bold. He complains that last time, he didn't get to teach the thief a lesson. Still pissed, he says the monkey had way too much nerve touching his things. But seeing that, the other monkeys start freaking out. Jing tells him to let the little monkey go, since they got the bag back. Suddenly, he panics at the monkeys screaming up in the trees. He remembers there's a horde of infected sleeping in the hotel hallway. With all that noise, he knows the monsters are gonna wake up any second. He tells Jing they need to get out of there, but the screaming keeps echoing. He thinks about running the other way so the infected will chase the monkeys instead. Jing stops him, saying it's his fault for hurting the animal. He snaps back that it deserved it, and points out the way they should go. Inside the hotel, the infected starts stirring because of the noise. The horde wakes up and rushes outside, drawn by the sounds in the trees. One of the stronger infected leads the charge, ready to hunt. The monsters sprint toward the forest, grabbing onto the trees. They start shaking the trunks, and the little monkey gets scared. Trees get ripped out by the roots, and the poor things try to run for their lives. Meanwhile, the infected wait for the right moment to strike. From his hiding spot, Henry watches, shocked at how insanely strong those bastards are. He freezes when he realizes the giant has multiple arms. Jing explains it's a symbiote, because there's a face growing out of its back. She says Dr. Qin taught that it's a more advanced type of infected. Close to death, the infected merges with the environment and grows roots around its body. When it joins with another infected, it turns into something even bigger and scarier. To kill them, you have to destroy both heads, since their systems are basically linked. He suggests they run while the monsters are distracted by the monkeys. Annoyed, Jing scolds him for calling the monkeys pests and says they're smart. He fires back that they're nasty, so he doesn't see any difference between them and pests. Jing holds the little monkey in her arms and tells him to look closer. Surprised, he notices the bag is full of bananas that weren't there before. Then he realizes the monkey wasn't stealing. It was trying to give them a gift. Still, Henry thinks the bananas might be infected. Suddenly, the little monkey squeezes where it really shouldn't. Right after that, it jumps away and backs off from her. The little monkey bolts off fast, hopping across abandoned cars. On top of one car, it growls and bares its teeth, looking pissed. Henry apologizes, admitting it was his fault. To make it up to the little guy, he offers a pack of cookies. The monkey takes the gift, then throws poop at him. Jing laughs at the whole thing, but the main guy gets really annoyed. The monkeys escape by jumping over a barbed wire fence. With a sad look, Jing says she's jealous of how free they are. Henry scolds her, but she explains the animals live free and without fear. She also notices they stick together, unlike humans. Everything on the surface has turned into a threat, like the world rejected them. He quietly agrees, wiping his face with a tissue. He admits he used to think the same way before he met Jing. With the map in hand, he says he finally gets why the others sacrificed themselves for her. He admits that in such a depressing world, she might have been the hope they needed. He calls Jing over to cross a barrier made of abandoned cars. He says that without the map, he never would have found that route. With the path marked out, they head toward their destination. Relieved, he says they're finally on the right track. He says once they cross the bridge, the TV station will be really close. Jing tells him to look up and points. She says she can already see it. Excited, she takes off running toward the bridge and the station, cheering. He scolds her, telling her not to run and to watch what's up ahead. On the bridge, they spot some people near the border sentry post. A man is arguing with the guards, saying he needs to cross with his gun. One guard says he's not getting in unless he hands it over. The guy, pissed off, curses and says nobody has the right to block him. The guard glares, gripping his weapon, ready to react. Suddenly, a woman grabs the guard's hand, stopping the fight. Smoking a cigarette, she says there's no need for trouble there. She says they're security forces, not bandits, and they need to act with respect. She explains it's their job to keep the bridge safe and inspect everyone who passes. The man hands over his gun, and the woman tells them to open the gates for him. As he goes in, she notices more people are arriving at the bridge. Our hero says he saw people from the pharmaceutical company and suspects Uncle Hai might have come through there. He thinks it's weird how many dead monkeys he's finding along the way. Jing notices bullet holes in the bodies and says it's really cruel. He remembers Uncle Hai saying he was against shooting randomly, and it all feels off. One of the guards spots them and calls out, saying it's dangerous for them to stay outside. He tells Jingli not to come closer yet, and says he's going to ask them something first. But then he realizes she's pointing a gun. The girl threatens him if he touches them. Smiling, the guard raises his hands and tells her not to jump the gun. She says the gun isn't loaded, but he accuses her of lying and tells her to back up. The guard realizes he's been tricked and orders his men not to let them get away. With his hands up, he surrenders, and another guard gets ready to move. The scene cuts to a brutal fight in a ring. One fighter goes down, and the winner is announced. The crowd goes wild for the Emperor of the Iron Fist. The champ, a masked, muscular man, raises his arms to celebrate. One of his guys yells that he's unbeatable. The masked leader, Nye steps forward with an intimidating presence. He orders his men to throw the prisoners into the truck and bring new shoes. Grinning, one of the men agrees and gets ready to do it. Another guy talks about how successful the last few days have been, and how smart it was to pretend to be pharmaceutical staff. Someone else says he loves the bridge, and would live there because it's been so good. In a cell, a bunch of people are locked up, and a thug asks who's next. One man grabs a prisoner by the arm and yanks him hard. He says there's no point hiding and orders everyone to kneel and wait. In his room, the boss smokes a liquid that his subordinate says is really strong. He feels it hit immediately. His eye turns red and dilates, and he breathes out pink smoke. In the middle of hallucinations, he hears screams and realizes someone's coming. The new prisoner gets shoved forward while the woman threatens him with a power drill. Angry, he asks why he's being threatened and says he already handed over his gun. Smiling, the woman says that as compensation, she'll tell him how to get across the bridge. She takes him behind a curtain, saying he has to win a boxing match. With a blink and a wink, she says that if he wins, he can grab his stuff and leave. One of the guys mocks him, saying he was worried there wouldn't be anyone for the boss. Breaking out in a cold sweat, the prisoner asks who he has to fight. Through the smoke, the masked boss growls, ready to throw down. Outside, the guard trades shots with Jing and Endry. He realizes the girl doesn't know how to use the gun. Trying to dodge, our hero trips and falls right on top of Jing. He realizes they need to get out of there fast, so they keep hiding between abandoned cars. The guards order the gates opened and tell them not to let the two escape. Endry asks how she knew the guards were fake. Jing says she noticed the kind of gun they were using, and she knows those are meant for humans, not infected. The protagonist says he's pissed, and she agrees, saying they're cruel. With the gates open, the enemies are sure they're going to catch them. They're hyped and itching to use their weapons. The leader asks about the gunshots she's hearing, and one of the men says it's probably just others having fun. Smiling, he says not to worry, someone's just practicing. Annoyed, she scolds them for shooting blindly in broad daylight. With a deadly look, she threatens them and orders them to go deal with it immediately. The men agree and run off. Still irritated, she complains she can't even watch the fight in peace because of them. Back to the fight. The prisoner says his body is trained. He even calls out the big guy to come at him first. Meanwhile, the guards realize the protagonist and the girl have disappeared, so they decide to split up and search. Hidden, Jing whispers that the guards are getting closer and closer, but Endry has a plan and says he'll distract them. One of the guards comes up, thinking he's found them, but when he looks back, there's nothing there anymore. Then Endry pops up with his slingshot, catching the guy off guard. He aims right at his face and fires a stone. The other guard is shocked by what happened and wonders how Endry even got there. Pissed, he curses and gets ready to attack with his gun. He fires in their direction, asking where they think they're going to hide. Jing gets ready to attack. Endry tells her to aim to kill, because if she hesitates, they'll both die. so the girl gets ready to put the plan into action. Hearing the screams, our hero thinks Jing managed to do it. He celebrates that Jing did her part, and that the other guard is the one screaming. But then he realizes it was actually her who got caught. With a machine gun pointed at Jing, the man tells Endry to let his buddy go. The poor girl had even managed to hit him in the shoulder with a spike, but it didn't do any serious damage. Our protagonist gets frustrated, because he told her to hit an artery. Angry, the guard says his friend is already dead and he needs to avenge him. The protagonist yells that the guy only passed out and threatens him, telling him not to come any closer. The guard agrees to a hostage swap, but plans to grab the boy's gun as soon as he can. Jing realizes he's just buying time and warns Endry. He says he knows, but he doesn't have a choice since she's been taken. The other guards find them and realize something's wrong. They see one of their own being held hostage and get ready to help. With reinforcements showing up, he and Jing worry about what's coming next. Smiling, the guard says his buddies are here and nobody's getting out. Suddenly, he's hit by an arrow and drops to the ground, screaming in pain. Confused, he wonders where the arrow that hit him in the back came from. Jing is shocked to see the man on the ground with an arrow stuck in him. Endry yells at her to be careful. There are still more people on the bridge. He tells her to hide near the cars so they won't be seen. He says they're trapped and tells Jing to grab the fallen guard's gun. With the gun in hand, he gets ready to push forward, but Jing calls out to him. All of a sudden, a man and a woman appear and tell them to come over to them. Stunned, the protagonist recognizes the woman, it's Wang, and asks what she's doing there. She asks if he wants an explanation, or if he'd rather escape with them before they get killed. With the enemies closing in, he yells for them to hurry as bullets ricochet off the cars. He tells them to go first, he'll cover them with the gun. Jing calls for him, but she's pulled away. Gun in hand, Endry shoots at the guards, promising he'll find his friends later. The guards fire back when they realize the main guy's armed too. One of them almost gets his helmet ripped off by a grazing shot. Seeing his buddies go down, he yells for them to grab the brats. Another guard shouts that anyone who goes against Nietong has to die. Endry almost gets caught and takes a graze. As he's running, his friend calls out to him and points to the way off the bridge so they can get out. With a determined look, he sprints, knowing he's almost there. He realizes he's low on bullets and fires just to scare them off, and by time, one of the guards spots them escaping down the spiral staircase. Our hero runs as fast as he can, heading down the bridge toward freedom. Wanshu asks the girl for her gun while Endry heads down. Then he helps Jing dodge a shot. One of the guards says to ignore the ones below and kill whoever's shooting. With a fierce look, Wanshu fires at the guards with perfect aim. One of the men gets nailed in the head and drops dead. The other guy yells his name and grabs him before he falls. Pissed off, he complains they thought they were just shooting monkeys. The other one tells him to shut up and says the kid on the stairs is about to get away. He grumbles that he can't see anything because the trees and the stairs block his view. The main guy says he's out of bullets, and they need to hurry. He braces himself on the ground, panting, trying to catch his breath. So they all run as fast as they can. The guards find them hiding behind the pillars and get ready to attack. They surround the main guy, saying he's lived long enough. The leader mocks them for giving away their position when they ran. Laughing, he shoots toward Endry, asking who's gonna die now. Jing warns Endry the enemies are closing in. While they're firing, one of them gets hit from behind. Shocked, they wonder how they got attacked from the back without noticing. The red-haired guy gets hit by an arrow and drops to the ground. Realizing it's a trap, the leader keeps shooting as his men get picked off. He gets hit by several arrows too and falls backward, wounded. Wanshu calls them idiots for falling for the trap so easily. On the ground, the leader threatens them, saying killing them means starting a war. Coughing, he keeps threatening them with revenge from his bosses. The archer steps on the guy's hand, cracking his fingers with a snap. He says the guy's trying to drag them to hell with him. The archer gets ready to shoot, saying he'll send him to join his friends. Desperate, the main guy yells for him to wait and not kill the man. He says the guy can't die yet because he has something to ask. On the ground, the man asks what he wants, shaking with fear. He asks if he saw a middle-aged guard with a beard on the bridge. He kneels beside him, pressing him for answers. The man says they took the uniforms, and the people they're looking for are right there. Patting his belly, he says the bodies are in there. The main guy is completely stunned by that. Laughing, the man says they're nothing but bones and nutrition. Now, furious, our hero grabs him by the collar and threatens him, telling him to say it again. The man says everyone who's passed through in the last 2 days got turned into food for them. He punches the guy in the face, knocking his glasses off. Angry, he yells that someone like Uncle Hai wouldn't get taken down by trash like them. He keeps hitting him, shouting that not even the monsters managed to kill him. Wanshu stops him, telling him to calm down and look at the guy. The main guy realizes the man's coughing and choking, barely able to breathe. With his last breath, the man says Nyetong will never die. With an arrow stuck in his chest, he says all humans will die. The archer says he's still not mature and loses it whenever his dad comes up. He says Guahai would never fall for imposters like that. Surprised, Jing asks if Grandpa knows Uncle Hai. The man explains he didn't recognize any of the pharmacy guards. He says that's how he knew they were fake. The other guy says that thanks to Oil Bao, they didn't fall into the trap. Jing asks who these people are pretending to be security forces. Waishu explains they're from the Nye Tong group, led by Nye Zi and Tong Zi. Their underlings are a bunch of crazies who commit crimes and don't care at all. With the underground city in chaos, they're taking advantage of it to loot. He says the bridge is the only way south, so they control it. Endry figures out they posed as guards to trick the refugees. The archer says they were lucky to find them, or they would have ended up the same way. Waishu introduces the archer, Oil Bao, who's retired from the army. She says they were planning to ask him for help, but then the disease outbreak showed up. Suddenly, one of the guards who survived gets ready to attack. With a hateful look, he says he finally found them. The archer says the sergeant stayed behind to protect him at the control center, and the protagonist says they barely even had a chance to look for Xiaoqiu. Waishu comforts him, saying nobody could have controlled that situation. Then she reveals Xiaoqiu escaped with them and she's totally unharmed. Shocked, he asks where she is, desperate to see her. The archer says she's with other survivors at a nearby museum. The other guy suggests they talk while they walk, because Nye Tong's group will be looking for them. Wanshu agrees and tells them to grab weapons and ammo off the bodies. As they pass under the bridge, she remembers something and calls out to Endry. She asks who the girl with him is, because she thought it was weird that the girl knew Hai. The girl introduces herself as Jingli. He explains he met her while escaping, and they split up to keep her safe. The archer says if he can't make it across, his dad won't be able to either. The surviving guard realizes they're too far away to shoot. He decides it's better to report to the captain before doing anything. Back at the fight, the man gets beaten and drops to the ground, hurt. With red eyes, the masked boss looks unbeatable. But he didn't get out completely unscathed either. Coughing, the man says he still needs to cross the bridge. The female leader mocks him for lasting 10 minutes against the boss. With his face all messed up, he says once he beats him, everything will be fine. The boss lands a brutal kick right to his face. His underlings cheer the captain's flying rocket kick. They're shocked and wonder if the guy finally died. Lying on the ground, he thinks that as long as he wins, he'll be able to cross the bridge. And the woman says his arms are broken and there's no way he can win. Then she grabs the poor guy by the hair. Smiling, she says she might let him go since he managed to touch her boss, but he didn't beat him. Confused, he asks what that's supposed to mean. With a power drill in her hand, she gets ready to drill him as punishment. Then she turns it on and drills into him without mercy. Two of the guys laugh while they listen to the screams in the background. Suddenly, one of them stops laughing and notices something weird in the distance. He points and yells that Pai Zi is coming from the bridge, covered in blood. Not understanding what happened, he tells them to bring the man to her. Between the buildings, the protagonist asks if they were the ones fighting at the hotel. Wanshu confirms it and says only she, Dixing, and Uncle Bao managed to escape. The other guy tells them to hurry, because they're close to the entrance. When they arrive, our hero is stunned by what he sees. Surprised, he asks what that thing is, and Jing says it's a dinosaur. They stare at the giant statue, and he says he'd only ever seen it in photos. He wonders how something that scary could have gone extinct. The archer says being the strongest doesn't guarantee you survive. Then he says they've reached the museum, and tells the kid to hurry up. The museum building turns out to be a modern, abandoned-looking structure. The archer whistles, and a door opens, revealing his people. They welcome them back, happy they made it. One guy complains they brought 2 more mouths to feed. Ignoring him, another guy invites them inside. One of the group asks about the situation at the bridge and Nye Tong's group. Jing takes the chance to ask why Endry cut her off when she was introducing herself, and he tells her to be quiet. He says he doesn't want to expose who she is, since the city's a mess. Wang Shu calls them over to look at something. There are a lot of people there, weak because they don't have food. Endry figures the refugees are the only survivors from the underground city. Wang Shu calls him again. He sees a bunch of survivors in the museum hall, all silent. A pink-haired girl is asleep sitting up, and the protagonist pinches her nose. The little girl is dreaming and says she hasn't finished eating yet. Then she opens her eyes and sees someone holding her nose. Smiling, he asks if she was starving even in her dreams. The girl hugs him tight, calling him, "My prince." He recognizes her as Chio and says she dropped his cookie. Crying, she says she wanted to save them, but couldn't find them. She sobs, saying she was terrified she'd never see them again. He comforts her, saying he's here now and he won't leave her alone anymore. Hugging her, he asks her to stop crying, and she agrees. But the little girl asks where her other big brother is. Jing walks over and explains that the sergeant took Xiaoqiu through the tunnel first, to somewhere safe. But the girl looks confused. Our hero backs it up, saying the guy's super reliable, so they split up, and they'll see him again soon. Reassured, the girl smiles. Then the main guy offers her something to eat. She takes a bite, thinking it's a cookie. Not really caring, she says that either way, it tastes good. He tells her to eat quickly so other people don't see. But Jing says they've got enough food in the backpack to last a while. Suddenly, a bald kid snatches the cake out of Xiaoqiu's hand. he bolts yelling, "Finders keepers!" Washu just watches the awkward mess. But the kid gets caught halfway. Grandpa Bao is holding him up in the air, cussing him out and telling him to let go and give the cake back. The kid shoves it all into his mouth and says he's not giving back anything. Furious, Grandpa Bao threatens to smack the brat. A woman steps in front, begging him not to hit the kid. She apologizes for not being able to control her son and offers to pay for what he ate. Washu says to forget it, but Grandpa Bao won't let it go because the kid kicked him. Annoyed, Grandpa Bao calls the boy a little bastard. The mom pulls her son close while he cries. To get away, the kid slips out of his clothes and runs off, leaving Grandpa Bao holding an empty shirt. Washu says to drop it, but Grandpa Bao insists the kid needs discipline. Endre says everyone's starving since they just escaped from underground. Our hero shares food from his backpack, including a potato for Wanshu. With his eyes lighting up, Wanshu tells Endre he's amazing. Off to the side, a man talks to a few survivors about not stealing again later. He helps the little boy get dressed again. While eating a cookie, the kid calls for his mom. He offers her the rest of his food, saying he feels weird and can't eat anymore. The little boy doesn't get his mom's reaction. He asks why she's crying, saying he'll figure something out after he eats. Wiping her tears, she says she's not crying and invites him to eat together. The scene cuts back to the enemies. The prisoner gets released, but he's badly hurt. A guard mocks him, wondering if he'll die before sunset. In a lot of pain, the man tries to think of a way to stop the bleeding. He looks at a sign, remembering he needs to make it to the Gwanghun base. Walking toward a building, he refuses to stop, because a better day will come. Suddenly, a loud banging sound echoes through the quiet place. The scene switches to Nyetong's group's hideout. The bodies of the defeated men are covered in gasoline. One of the goons throws the can down, swearing angrily. One guy says it's a shame to burn the bodies, but another says they're never coming back anyway. Tongzi scolds them for being so aggressive and is shocked to hear how her men died. To her, death is just crossing from one hell into another. She warns that anyone who goes against Nyetong will end the same way. Tongzi orders them to get the car and show everyone what happens to their enemies. With a nasty grin, one of the men agrees right away. Her goons shout excitedly, ready for the hunt that's about to start. Far away on the bridge, the fire burns as the group yells that the hunt has begun. The scene changes to the museum, where fresh ingredients are tossed into a pot. Wanshu says his secret soup will be ready in just 10 minutes. Grandpa Bao is impressed by Jing's backpack, stuffed with supplies and even a pot. Jing says Endre packed everything for the long walk to Guangzhou. She shows that the backpack also has water-purifying tablets and other useful things. Wanshu says he learned how to get by from Endre, who had great survival instincts. Looking for him, a man says Endre took his binoculars and went upstairs. On the museum rooftop, the main guy looks out over the city at dusk through the binoculars. In the distance, he spots the TV tower, but says he can't see it clearly. Adjusting the focus, he figures it's about a kilometer away. He wonders how they're supposed to get past the bandits controlling the bridge. As he watches the bridge, a voice says it won't let him go there alone. Washu shows up and says going alone is a no-go, suggesting they talk it over tomorrow. Awkwardly, he says Hai's deadline is coming up and his uncle would come looking for him, but Wangshu tells him to stop lying. She explains that Hai set the meet up for 3 days from now to convince him not to go save him. She reminds him that Hai fell into a pit full of infected, and there's no way anyone survives that. The image of Hai getting dragged down by countless infected hands flashes through his mind. Furious, Endre yells at her to shut up, saying she doesn't know Uncle Hai. Endre shouts that Hai never breaks his promises, and this time won't be any different. He says he's going to the tower to prove to everyone that his uncle is still alive. Worried, Wangshu tries to stop him, grabbing his arm and calling his name. Suddenly, a voice from downstairs yells for him. It's Jing, running up the stairs and asking what's going on. Panicking, she says someone showed up at the museum entrance, and they need to go down. Downstairs, an armed man is surprised by how many people are there. Another man says they need to find food or they're all going to starve. Jing points at the newcomers, quickly explaining what's happening. The protagonist goes on alert. With a smile, one of the strangers greets him, saying he was wondering where he'd gone. Furious, he points his gun at the man. Without thinking twice, he fires a shot toward the newcomer. The gunshot freaks everyone out, and someone asks if Endre has lost his mind. Grandpa Bao grabs him, asking how he could shoot with so many people around. With a smug smile, the man just watches the chaos he caused. Wanshu aims a gun at him, and Grandpa Bao asks what the deserter's problem is. Gun in hand, she tells everyone to stay calm and warns that if he moves, she'll shoot him herself. Endre says the man locked them in with infected to leave them to die. The deserter says locking up scavengers was a mission from the quarantine team. He accuses the protagonist of keeping Jing close for a similarly selfish reason. Grandpa Bao holds Endre back as Endre yells that the guy is twisting everything. Taunting him, the man asks if he revealed Jing's identity. He goes on, saying that since she's so powerful, it's a waste for other people to use her. Jing yells that it's not like that, and that Endre just didn't want to expose who she was. The survivors look confused, and a woman says she's heard of her before. The deserter explains that the fight over the medicine happened because of Jing, because she's immune. Grandpa Bao and another man are shocked and ask Endry about the lie. Our hero tries to explain, saying the guy is talking like it's nothing. Suddenly, a survivor grabs Jing by the hair, and she screams in pain. The woman blames her for the destruction of the underground city, and for them losing everything. The crowd turns on Jing, and the protagonist tries to step in and protect her. Full of hate, one of the men gets ready to spit on her. He spits in Jing's face, saying she deserved it. Furious, Endry kicks the man, yelling at him to get the hell out of there. Our hero grabs him, ready to hit him again, but the old man stops him. On the ground, the man says the immunity story is true. He yells that because of her, he's the last one and his family's still alive. Others agree, saying they were tricked with promises of a vaccine that never came. The crowd closes in on Jing, demanding they punish her for everything that happened. Everyone screams in rage, saying to tie Jing up so she'll pay. Holding Endry back, Grandpa Bao says things have gotten bad and they can't calm the riot down. With a smile, the deserter brags about how easy it was to manipulate those people. Outside, the enemy tells the boss that all the refugees are inside the museum. He orders his men to get ready to storm in, kill everyone, and steal their stuff. Smoking in the car, Tongzi agrees, sure they're in for a big payday today. The furious crowd pushes forward, demanding they hand the girl over. Endry shields Jing with his gun, threatening anyone who tries to touch her. A man presses his gun to Endry, saying Endry isn't the only one armed. He blames Endry for ruining everything because of Jing, the real reason they're in this mess. With the gun to his head, Endry stares him down and asks what he'll do if he doesn't comply. One of the men tells everyone to calm down and lower their weapons, because things are out of control. Endry yells that sending Jing out at night is basically sending her to her death. Wang Shu agrees it's dangerous for Jing to stay, and offers to go with her. Grandpa Bao joins them, promising they'll be safe through the night. Leading the way out, Grandpa Bao says he's going to keep his promise to help a friend. Jing worries about Xiaoqiu, but he tells her safety comes first. The long-haired guy refuses to leave, saying he's going to look after Xiaoqiu. One of the survivors yells at them to get out, saying they don't belong there. The crowd starts shouting to kick them out and avenge the innocent people who died. The deserter watches the chaos with a satisfied smile. A man says the sun's about to come up, while the deserter stands there with his arms crossed. With a wave, the man says the light is coming. The survivors start throwing stuff at Endry, yelling for him to leave and never come back. One guy suggests tying them up, but another says their fate isn't their problem. Outside, Wang Shu says it was risky and it would have ended badly either way. Grandpa Bao complains that even after rescuing them, they still threw things at him. Wang Shu warns that the light attracted the infected and they need to find shelter fast. She suggests taking a darker route, remembering an office building that looked intact. Endry turns and calls for Jing, asking why she isn't coming with them. Crying, Jing says she can't make sense of anything that's happening. She asks why they're blaming her for the city's downfall when she didn't do anything. Grandpa Bao says it's not her fault. People just needed someone to blame. About who Jing is, Grandpa Bao reassures Endry, saying he doesn't think like the others. Suddenly, Wang Shu tells everyone to be quiet. She heard something downstairs. Several huge infected show up, growling in the darkness. Wang Shu counts 5 infected, drawn in by the museum's light, coming up the stairs. Our hero says they've got 2 rifles, which is more than enough for 5. Wang Shu agrees to take the risk, but then notices something weird. She realizes the infected aren't coming up, they're leaving. All of a sudden, an arrow nails one of the monsters right in the eye. Grandpa Bao warns that a group of infected passes through there every night. He tells them not to shoot, saying he'll cover them with his bows so they don't attract more. An infected with a mutated arm groans in the dark near the cars. Hidden, Endry and Jing watch it walk by, until it suddenly drops to the ground. Behind an ice cream van, Grandpa Bao signals the group to come closer. The protagonist looks to the side, confused about what's going on. Grandpa Bao says the infected's clothes were way too clean, which is really strange. He says they look newly infected, but wonders why they're ignoring the light. The infected keep walking in another direction, and Endry wonders what's over that way. Grandpa Bao sees a chance to escape, but Endry thinks Uncle Hai might be over there. Hearing that, Wang Shu and Jing exchange worried looks. The scene cuts, and there's a loud metallic clang as infected hands grab onto a gate. One of Nie Tong's men gets his spear stuck and begs for help. Another guy calls him an idiot and tells him to bait the monster so it lets go of the weapon. He just ends up making the infected even angrier, and his teammate complains about the screw-up. Surrounded by monsters, the Nie Tong group gets irritated, saying the museum should be close by now. In the car, Tongzi floors it, ready to drive and get them out of there. The Nie Tong group's truck charges forward, crushing infected under spiked wheels. A pile of infected is left behind, completely wrecked. The truck plows a path through the horde. One of the guys laughs like crazy, celebrating the slaughter and saying the truck is unstoppable. A red-eyed monster tries to attack Tongzi inside the vehicle. She drills right through the infected's arm with a power drill, forcing it back. One thug tells Tong Zi to reverse and crush the ones that are still moving. Hidden in the bushes, the group watches, trying to figure out if those people are killing infected. Wan Shu recognizes the truck and says it belongs to the Nietong clan. She explains that most survivors hide at night, thinking they're safe. Grandpa Bao figures the group attacks at night, taking advantage of how little resistance there is. Endri realizes the people in the museum are in danger, and something bad is going to happen tonight. Wan Shu and Jing ask where he's going in such a hurry. Endri says he's going back to the museum to try to convince the survivors to run. He refuses to abandon Xiao, and he hopes his warning will make everyone apologize to Jing. The scene shifts back to the museum, where another group of survivors gathers around the fire. One of the men suggests they talk and trade information. With a grin, the ex-patrol guy says it's better if everyone shares what they know. One of the survivors asks if the instructions were to meet up at the bridge, and waits for an answer. Inside the museum, one guy worries about an attack from Nietong, but another tells him to keep his voice down because there are kids nearby. One of the men tries to stay hopeful, saying maybe the group pulled back, and he scans the area, tense. The deserter shuts that down, saying they won't give up on the immune girl and that trouble's coming, almost like he's enjoying everyone else being scared. A survivor snaps, asking if this isn't all just payback for what Guanghun did, and points angrily. Someone says the instructions were kind of vague, but on their end everything went fine, trying to calm everyone down. With a tight look, one of them admits he was there at the tunnel line. In a flashback, he explains that the people from Chixing wanted to sneak into Guanghun, and he lays out the plan in detail. A miner tells a man in a protective suit that a regular detonator won't work, pointing at the damaged equipment. A guard checks an ID and lets them through, while the guy in the suit waves, acting like everything's normal. The man complains to the guard about how uncomfortable the suit is, and the guard grumbles back. The scanner doesn't recognize the ID, and the man lies, saying he's new on the job, internally freaking out. A supervisor warns them the elevator's broken and they'll have to take the stairs, and the group moves on. The man thanks the supervisor for the heads up and keeps going, still wearing that fake smile. Suddenly, the guy in the protective suit attacks the supervisor from behind with a clean hit, and everything turns into chaos. On the ground, the supervisor asks what the guy is doing, totally shocked and struggling. The man says he got found out because the disinfection room wasn't supposed to be there, and he tightens his grip around the supervisor's neck. Holding him by the throat, he demands to know who they are and what they want in Guanghan. Unable to breathe, the supervisor thrashes and starts choking on the floor, begging for air. One of the suited men mocks the smell, laughing because he peed himself out of fear, and things get even uglier. Then, out of nowhere, the guy who was laughing gets his head blown off by a perfect shot, and everyone freezes. A miner with a flare gun accuses those Guanghun bastards of killing innocent people, and the anger explodes. Chaos breaks out. The guards shout that the miners have weapons and that it's a rebellion, trying to take control. One miner fights off a guard, yelling at him to let go, and the brawl spreads. The miner declares Guanghun's disease control center is done as of today, calling the people to rise up. He shouts that the people will be free and all their lives will be exposed, full of hate and guts. Then, unexpectedly, the miner's leader gets shot in the back. One of the guards curses at him while holding the gun, cold as ice. On the ground, the miner curses back, and the guards start yelling orders to kill everyone else, and the brutality comes right back. One miner gets shot while trying to yell that they're not traitors, and he drops without a sound. The supervisor cries and calls the miners bastards. Shaking with rage and tears, holding onto a line, he pulls it out. Attached to it is a vial of infected water. With the rebellion crushed, a guard decides to take the only surviving miner in for interrogation, and the tension still hangs in the air. He tells the man to relax. Then he suddenly notices something coming, and his face turns to panic. It's the miner's leader, now infected, and he lunges to attack. Back in the museum, the guy in the cap says all the soldiers got infected. He tries to explain that everything spiraled out of control, but someone else doubts the whole city could have fallen. The deserter confirms he saw infected in other areas too. It wasn't just one spot. The group leader realizes how bad it is, seeing just how hard everything went off the rails. He mutters that what came out of it was something nobody expected. The red-haired guy complains they lost the underground city and the immune girl too. With a steady look, one of the men insists she's not gone. The long-haired guy tells everyone to be patient, saying she'll come back. The deserter cuts him off, pointing at the door and telling him to look properly. He says there's no point waiting. The Endri group is already back at the museum. A survivor stares at them, calling them crazy for coming back. Grandpa Bao tells everyone to calm down and says they came back to warn them about the exits. Wan Shu warns that the Nietong clan found them and plans to kill everyone. A guy with glasses laughs dismissively, thinking it's all made up. Another survivor says that excuse is ridiculous and tells them to stop messing around. He accuses the group of making up stories out of fear, saying that outside it's nothing but zombies at night. Endri challenges everyone to go check, warning that if he's wrong, they'll all die together. A female survivor says going out now is basically suicide, and that he knows it. The crowd agrees, saying Nietong's group wouldn't be stupid enough to go out at night. Annoyed, Henry realizes it was a waste of time trying to help those people. He decides to grab Xiao and leave, since they're clearly not welcome there. The protagonist says there's nothing else to do and turns to go. One of the survivors tries to snatch Henry's weapon from behind in a surprise attack. Our hero dodges fast, and he even manages to grab the guy's leg. With force, the protagonist slams him to the ground, making him scream in pain. The deserter grabs Jing as a hostage and tells Henry to shut up. Our hero yells, furious, for him to let Jing go, threatening to make him regret it. The deserter points the gun at Grandpa Bao, ordering Henry to shut his mouth. Holding Wanshu, he warns he won't show mercy if they keep resisting. Henry realizes that if he fights back, Bao dies right there. With his hands up, the protagonist surrenders and asks them not to hurt his friends. The deserter smiles and tells his men to take their weapons and keep an eye on the girl. He says their fate depends on the crowd, which starts yelling, furious. Surrounded, the survivors demand the group be killed, blaming Jing for everything. A woman tries to stop it, but someone else says anyone protecting that damn woman deserves to die. A man suggests locking them in a room, and the crowd agrees, shouting. Jing tries to warn them about the danger, but she's told to shut up and ignored. They get more and more blinded by rage. Not understanding, Jing wonders how it all got to this point. Henry looks at her and asks if she still thinks it was worth trying to save everyone. Pushed along by the crowd, a man orders them to keep walking and not look back. In the middle of the chaos, Xiao feels sad seeing all of it. The guy with glasses suggests tying them all up in the bathroom so they don't waste time, and they stay by the door, sure nobody's getting out of there. Jing pounds hard, yelling that they can't do this and that they're in danger. Grandpa Bao holds her back, saying nobody's going to listen, especially coming from her. He explains the underground city existed because people still had hope for a vaccine she was working on. When the city was destroyed, that hope died too, leaving everyone desperate. With a sad look, Jian hears that the crowd's anger is irrational and could turn on anyone. Henry blames himself for underestimating everything and hurting the people he wanted to protect. Grandpa Bao tries to comfort him, saying it's not his fault, and that they're not on the deserters' side. By the window, Wanshu says there's no way out. It's way too high to jump. Henry says if they don't die because of the survivors, they'll die because of Nietong's group. Wanshu reminds him Dishing is still out there, and Henry complains about the weird noise he keeps hearing. He says he doesn't trust Dishing, since he stayed quiet when they were being threatened. With a finger to his lips, Wanshu asks for silence so they can listen better. Suddenly, they hear someone calling for the sergeant. Shocked, our hero wonders how anyone could still be alive out there. Wanshu corrects him, saying it's Xiao using a secret code only they know. From the window, Wanshu shouts her name, and Xiao answers that she found them. The little girl says she can't get past the guards and needs to think of a way to help them. Desperate, they ask if she's figured out a plan to get them out. Xiao admits she hasn't thought of anything and asks if they have any ideas. With no answer, the two of them go quiet, with no solution in sight. Grandpa Bao covers his face, frustrated that there's still no escape plan. He says if nobody has an idea, he'll talk to the girl himself. With a slight smile, he says he's seen things young people can't even imagine. Outside, the deserter whistles, calling his group back. One of the men returns, and he asks how the search outside went. The man hands over the binoculars, saying it was too dark to see anything. He says he didn't spot any infected, which is weird for that time. They realize the girl was telling the truth and Nietong's group really is out there. The long-haired guy says he knows Nietong's group and they need to get ready. The deserter says it won't matter. The glass walls won't stop bullets. Sarcastically, he says Nietong's group is going to wipe them all out easily. The other group's leader replies that they only need to worry about keeping Jingli. One of the men asks if the others matter, and the leader says they're worth nothing. He tells the men to hurry up and get the girl out of there as soon as possible. One of the survivors complains that the group guarding the gate just left. Annoyed, the long-haired guy says that even if it's for survival, they shouldn't run away. The leader says goodbye to the survivors, telling them it's fine, no big deal. Once they're together, the survivors realize Jingli is really important and must know something. The deserter stares at one of his men, who looks frozen, like he doesn't know what to do. Irritated, he asks why the guy is still standing there doing nothing. Sweating with fear, the long-haired man stammers that he's going. The survivors argue about what to do with the group, saying Jing got what was coming to him. The long-haired guy leads the way, saying the group is trapped in the third-floor bathroom. Hidden in the hallway, Xiao tries to figure out how to get past without being noticed. The little girl finds the way blocked by crates, but says she's not scared at all. With a determined look, she tells herself that saving the prince is the princess's duty. She keeps pushing the crates, sure she'll find what she's looking for soon. In the bathroom, everyone wonders if 10 minutes have passed since Xiao left. Henry starts getting impatient, feeling like time is crawling. He says he's worried because Wang told the girl to find a fire hydrant they don't even know exists. Grandpa Bao tries to calm everyone down, explaining that fire hydrants are required in big buildings. The image shows a fire hydrant, complete with a hose and a safety extinguisher. Grandpa Bao says the 20-meter hose is exactly what they need to get out of there. Wanshu jokes that he never thought the old man's brain would be this useful. Jing says he hopes they can warn the people downstairs, but Endri doesn't even respond. Suddenly, Xiaoqiu's voice echoes from the ceiling, and Endri cheers, happy she's back. The little girl says she found the hose in the hallway and got her face all dirty. She says she tested the hose and promises it's ready for them to climb up. The main guy asks for help pulling the hose into the bathroom. With a firm grip, he yanks hard and confirms it's really secure. Endri tells Grandpa Bao to climb up first, then help pull the girls up. Grandpa Bao asks for silence, saying he can hear people talking outside. One man asks why they came up there, and another says they're switching shifts. The guy with glasses thinks it's weird, saying the shift change shouldn't be until later. The newcomer explains there was an argument, so they called someone more experienced. With a friendly smile, the guy with glasses offers to handle it, but he gets suspicious when he sees more people showing up. Suddenly, the deserter attacks, saying there's no time to waste. With a serious look, he warns he has no patience for stalling. He orders them to capture only Jingli and leave the others locked in the museum. One of the survivors asks how they're going to stop the girl from being taken. The deserter explains they won't use guns, because they don't have enough bullets to waste. So one of them grabs an iron bar. With a metal pipe in hand, the group takes position and gets ready to open the bathroom door. When they open it, they realize the bathroom is completely empty. Jing is still hanging near the window, so she gets really scared. Panicking, she says it's way too high for her to climb down. Going down first, Wanshu tells her not to talk and not to look down. He hurries her, warning they'll be found any second and the rope won't hold. Endri says that if the hose held Bao's weight, they don't need to worry. As they pull the rope, Xiaoqiu yells at them to focus instead of talking. But under the weight, part of the rope's support breaks. One of the men notices chunks of concrete falling onto the window glass. Looking through the opening, he spots them climbing up the building to the floor above. Jing screams that they've been spotted, and a man aims his gun at her. From the floor above, Endri reaches out and tells them to pull Jing closer. The man shouts orders to block the stairs and go get them. The girl lands on a lower floor, shaken but relieved to be safe. The group regroups, and Jing apologizes, saying her legs are weak because of the height. Endri helps her up, saying he'll help her recover. Grandpa Bao says they need to hide, because they don't have enough people to fight. The deserter sends a shooter to each side of the staircase, and the rest follow him. He orders them to check the bathroom, saying it's a good place to hide. One of the men carefully opens the bathroom door, ready for anything. Shocked, he swears when he realizes there's nobody in there. The group searches everywhere, but they can't find anyone, since the doors are locked. One of the men figures they couldn't have climbed down, because the rope is still there. Using a flashlight, he spots footprints in the dusty floor. Following the tracks, the group moves down the building's dark hallway. The prints lead to a door with shattered glass. The deserter and his men grin, sure they found them. He says he only wants Jingli and doesn't care about the others. From inside, Wanshu starts talking to them. He asks them to back off and put their weapons down so they can talk. One of the men outside asks who's supposed to answer that offer. The deserter says that since they've been found, they're going in by force. With a loud crash, the glass door shatters into pieces. The thugs storm in, and the deserter orders them to kill everyone except Jingli. Terrified, Jing begs Endri to talk to them, but he says they'll have to get through them first. He turns to her and says if she doesn't want to die, there's only one option left. As the men close in, a voice yells for them not to come any closer. To Jing's shock, Endri grabs her as a hostage, pressing a shard of glass to her neck. Confused, the deserter asks Endri what he thinks he's doing. Wanshu and Grandpa Bao are shocked too, not understanding what he's doing. The deserter mocks him, saying he only didn't get away because of the girls slowing him down. Endri says he'd rather kill her than leave her in the hands of people who want her dead. Wide-eyed, Jing watches in silence. She realizes he's just pretending, and the glass isn't actually hurting her. The long-haired man says Endri isn't fooling him, and promises he'll be safe if he hands Jing over. Washu says he always knew that guy was no good, but he never thought he'd be that heartless. The man explains he's doing it to keep Jingli safe. Annoyed, one of the men questions the plan. To make it look like he's really going to kill her, Endri slices her finger where nobody can see. Then he hints that he cut Jing's throat, and that he'll do worse if they don't back off. The deserter hesitates, not sure what to do, while the long-haired man looks tense. He decides the whole thing has gone completely insane, and they'll have to stay in the museum. Outside, Nietong's truck gets ready to hit the museum with zero mercy. Pumped up, one of Nietong's guys suggests taking people and valuables back with them. Tongzi orders them to capture the killers alive so they can make them suffer a fate worse than death. With a shout, he tells the driver to floor it, and the truck speeds toward the museum. The leader of the other group says things are getting out of control and there's no going back now. A survivor yells that they're turning Gwanghun into a joke and they won't have anywhere left to live. The other leader tells everyone to calm down, saying they need Jing alive and can't hurt her. Suddenly, a loud noise startles everyone, and they start asking what just happened. A man shouts that he heard gunshots coming from where the prisoners were. The other leader tells them to keep their weapons ready, in case the prisoners escaped. Outside, a bright light blinds the survivors who were in the dark. Someone yells that it's headlights from a vehicle coming straight at them. The leader screams for everyone to get away from the doors. Danger's coming. Nyatong's truck smashes into the museum, blowing through the glass walls with a massive crash. The survivors scream in panic when they recognize Nyatong's vehicle. Now they see everything they were told was true. In the middle of the chaos, one survivor gets shot in the head. As his body drops to the floor, a man yells in shock that they killed him. Smoking in the truck, Tongzi tells everyone to wake up, while his men shout that the hunt has started. Armed, they rush inside, and one of them yells that he's gonna win by killing the most. Gunshots echo through the museum, mowing down survivors without mercy. One man complains he can't aim, but another laughs, saying there are targets everywhere. Another thug laughs that some of them didn't even get the chance to wake up. Chaos takes over the hall, with bodies all over the place. A survivor stands up yelling for everyone to find weapons and fight back. One of the men gets shot clean through the eye. The masked man laughs, saying he's already winning the kill contest. He brags that he's beating his buddy by 3 headshots. But then, out of nowhere, his friend gets hit by a shot. The man yells for everyone to take cover, warning that the survivors have guns too. He fires back, trying to shield himself from the shots coming his way. Hiding behind a wall, an armed survivor says it's all over. The survivors regret not believing the group, but it's too late now. With barely any weapons, a woman says they won't be able to save anyone. In the middle of the gunfight, her son screams in panic, calling for her. One of Nyatong's men orders them to focus on the armed ones, since they're providing cover. The deserter hears the chaos, and realizes the truck has crashed into the museum. Annoyed, he says the gunfire is loud and asks what the group is doing there. The deserter accuses them of stalling to force them to let them go, or everyone will die. Endry asks if he's going to kill everyone in the lobby, and then come back to threaten him. One of the men from the other group suggests falling back and waiting for the enemies to leave. The long-haired guy says they can't get out, because the Nyatong group is 1 floor below. He goes on, saying there's no point in taking Jing's body if she dies. The deserter asks if they really need to protect the girl and whether there's any other option. Endry tells them not to dare touch her, and wishes them good luck saving themselves. The long-haired guy tosses Endry a gun, asking if he feels better now. The gun lands near Jing, shocking Grandpa Bao, who asks if the guy's lost his mind. The man says they need to work together to save the immune girl. Grandpa Bao picks up the gun, saying that if they try to betray them, bullets will make them pay. Suddenly, someone yells that people are coming up from below, putting everyone on alert. Downstairs, one of them says it'd be best to run to the other floors, so the enemies say they'll deal with them later. On the other side, one of the men warns his buddies about the ones fleeing through the hallways. The leader of the people who lived in the museum lies in wait, ready to shoot if he has to, but they know they could lose, since they're being surrounded from all sides. Then one of the enemies finds that man and shows up with a bomb. Without hesitation, he throws the bomb into that room. He even covers his ears because of the blast. And with the explosion, everyone in there gets hurt. One of them asks if the others are okay, but the leader says he can't really hear him. The worst part is when he looks at his leg and realizes a chunk is gone. Aiming his gun, the enemy says it's over for them there. Then the pink-haired woman tells them to look for survivors and bring them to her. A man orders them to bring any working fans and anyone alive they find. The thugs go into a dark room, sure they won't be found if they hide. Hidden with Jing, the group hears the men getting closer, and Endry tells everyone to be quiet. Jing begs not to be hurt as the thugs move toward them. One of the men gets hit by a shot and drops dead, giving away the hiding spot. The thugs notice the door has been forced, and that there are people inside. With guns raised, they get ready to go in and find whoever's hiding. They decide the room is a dead end and order the place searched again. One of the men finds a small gap in the stone wall. Peeking inside, he says there are only tables with stones on top. They decide to go back and check the room's entrance one more time. Still hiding, Endry and Grandpa Bao realize they won't be able to stay hidden much longer. One of the men asks for a boost so he can climb up and look at something that caught his eye. Heart pounding, Endry realizes they're screwed. They've been found. The enemy points to the spot, while the deserter is hiding right above. Holding his gun, he tosses it to draw the thug's attention. The gun ends up landing near a few men who were hiding. Now they have no way out. They're going to be found. With nowhere to run, one of them grabs it and gets ready to shoot. But before they can even do anything, they're taken out. One of the enemies gets pissed, because his buddy had said the room was empty. He orders them to search the bodies and head back to the museum's main lobby. With the area cleared, they get ready to leave, since the others have already come back. Relieved, Endry says it was a false alarm and that they're safe for now. Noticing the grime on her neck, Jing decides to ask Endri something, but he signals for silence, holding a finger up. Other fugitives thank the men who were hiding, because without them they'd be in trouble right now. But the deserter is irritated, because now he's without a gun. A man comments that the lost gun was well cared for and had some custom parts. Another guy offers to trade his shotgun for 5 packs of ammo. One of Nietong's goons asks what's going on upstairs, but they didn't find anyone. Shocked, Nietong's leader wonders how it's possible they didn't run into them. He figures that since the backpacks weren't taken, they've still gotta be inside the museum. Tongzi says it's hard to find someone in a place that big, with all those hallways. She stomps out a cigarette, and says it's better to just wait for them to come out on their own. The group's leader walks up to that mom and her kid. Drill in hand, she says she's doing a good deed, starting with the boy. Several people, already dead, are scattered through the corridors. The long-haired guy says Nietong's goons have already come down. With a makeshift weapon, the old man tells the deserter not to move. The deserter taunts him, saying a wolf without claws can't eat anyone. With the weapon pressed to the back of his head, the deserter gives in and says he'll back off. The pink-haired woman yells at the new prisoners, accusing them of killing her people. The girls are stunned when they hear that. Endri watches as Tongzi says the survivors could have worked for them. She goes on, saying that now they're forced to die for the sins of that scum. A wounded survivor apologizes, saying he doesn't know how he's supposed to believe them. Tongzi points the drill at his head as he begs for mercy. With a scream, she drills into the man's skull. Another survivor screams in horror at the brutal scene he just witnessed. Tongzi yells that she's not kidding, and that she's going to get revenge on whoever killed her men. Desperate, a man offers to help the group and go up the stairs. But the woman doesn't let the poor guy get away unharmed. Once again, she uses her drill. Tongzi gets annoyed by the noise and asks why they can't be a little more polite. She says she's a woman of her word, and if the killers turn themselves in, the others will live. Tongzi warns that every 10 seconds, someone will be killed until they surrender. Jing realizes people are going to die because of her, and that she has to save them. Endri stops her, saying they already tried, and now they're dealing with the consequences. Grandpa Bao says that even if she goes out there, they'll die either way. The deserter suggests she close her eyes if she can't watch the slaughter. Tongzi starts the countdown, and the number 9 echoes through the place. Crying, a woman regrets not believing them, and the count reaches 5. Tongzi smiles, saying she's got plenty of people to kill since nobody's turning themselves in. Jing refuses to watch more people die because of her. She says if her sacrifice can save them, she'll be satisfied, even if it's just one person. The countdown hits 1, and Tongzi gets ready to kill someone else, but then a voice speaks up. The little boy who stole the cookie shows up, begging them to stop. In tears, he begs them not to kill his mom. Tongzi mocks him for hiding and tells him to come down to her. Jing tries to go out, but Wanshu stops her, scratching her arm. She scolds her, saying any interruption now will cost everyone their lives. With a serious look, Endri says her attack was a perfect 10. Tongzi says the kid's brave, and that the whole thing kind of moved her. The boy's mom begs them not to hurt him, saying he's still just a child. Tongzi offers a deal, giving the boy a chance because of his courage. She tells him to pick one person from the crowd to die instead of his mother. The prisoners look at each other in fear as Tongzi says his mom will be safe. The countdown starts again, and the prisoners get more and more terrified. At 5, the little boy raises his hand, shaking. Crying, he says he can't make the choice, and his mom is crushed. Tongzi says kids have the right to make their own choices. She pressures him, asking if he'd rather his mom die. The count hits 2, and the boy's mom closes her eyes, bracing for the worst. At the very last second, the boy chooses and points at someone in the crowd. Sobbing, he says he picked and begs them not to let his mom die. But he's shocked when he opens his eyes. Tongzi says it was too late, and he didn't save her in time. Furious, the boy screams that he's going to kill her and charges at her. With one hit, the woman throws him to the ground, taking him down easily. With a look of disgust, she calls him trash for not taking his chance. In a flashback, we see a gate opening. The old man opens the door and says that with the money the other guy paid, he can pick whichever one he wants. Inside, there are a bunch of little kids locked up. One of them is holding a fork. Smiling, the man says he likes the girl's attitude with the fork. The girl swings and scratches him with it. Then she tells him not to come any closer. He laughs at her, asking if she seriously thinks she can kill him with that thing. He dares her to hit him in the throat and starts counting to 3. He even points out exactly where she should stab. Terrified, the little girl is shaking, gripping the fork tight, not knowing what to do. And when he sees she can't do it, the man snatches it from her. Then he grabs the poor kid by the neck, saying she blew her chance. The old man tells him to take it easy, hurting her is bad for business. With a grin, the man says he liked the look on her face and tells the other guy to take the rest of the kids away. Crying, the little girl begs them not to leave her alone with him in the container. Back in the present, the boy is crying hard for his mom. With her face all dirty, Tongzi watches with this cold, calculating stare. She orders them to grab whatever they can and toss the remaining prisoners in the trunk. One of the goons questions it, but she says they already killed 3, and the rest won't make it out alive anyway. With a nasty smile, she says that if they don't cross the bridge, they won't last more than 3 days. The deserters group looks over the museum lobby, now quiet and dark. One guy suggests looking for survivors, but another just wants to get out of there ASAP. Suddenly, he steps on a wire and sets off a trap. There's an explosion, and the blast throws him back. The deserters group realizes he stepped on a mine and got completely torn apart. When they check what's left, they see shrapnel hit his skull, and that there are more traps around. They spot another stretched wire with a piece of cloth tied to it, marking yet another trap. Looking down, they realize Nietong's group was sneaky and left traps everywhere. One of the men says the rumors about Nietong having heavy firepower were true. Using a flashlight, they look up and find the little boy tied up and gagged. One guy says only an idiot would try to save him, but the kid is crying in fear. They realize the boy is surrounded by tripwires. He's bait. One of them suggests using a bone to mess with the trap, but another guy stops him. Someone warns that pulling one wire could set off the others, and offers to cut them instead. Grandpa Bao hands his gun to Wang Shu, telling her not to let anyone come close. Grandpa Bao says these traps are child's play and that he can disarm them. He explains that once you spot fishing line traps, they're not that dangerous. Carefully, he holds the grenade pin and peels off the tape, disarming the trap. Grandpa Bao tells Endri to find where the boy is tied so they can untie him. Endri wonders where he's even supposed to look, while Jing sits there, sad. Then the old man warns everyone to be careful, because there could be more traps ahead. Our hero gets annoyed that he's only saying that now. Endri crouches down and starts disarming another trap, following the instructions. He celebrates when he pulls it off and asks if he can untie the boy now. Tied up and gagged, the little boy thrashes around, unable to talk or move. Grandpa Bao calms him down, telling him not to cry and that they'll get him out soon. He cuts the rope, and the boy drops into his arms, crying and squirming. Grandpa Bao holds him and praises him, saying he's a little champ for hanging in there. With his face messy from tears, the boy tries to say something. Wan Shu turns, confused by what's happening on the other side of the hall. The deserter and his men watch, shocked, not understanding what they're seeing. Endri yells a warning to Grandpa Bao, pointing at the floor under his feet. A grenade with the pin pulled loose rolls along the ground, ready to blow any second. Before leaving, Tongzi wraps tape around the grenade. She praises the boy for being brave and says that as a reward, she won't kill him. Smiling, she says the boy's fate is in his own hands. The grenade, with the pin already pulled, is strapped to his back, ready to explode. Grandpa Bao shouts a warning and runs to grab the boy before it's too late. He throws the boy away, trying to get him clear of the grenade on the floor. In one quick move, Grandpa Bao dives on top of the grenade. He curls up on the floor, using his own body to shield everyone from the blast. The explosion goes off, and someone screams Grandpa Bao's name in despair. Lying on the ground, the little boy won't stop crying. Across from them, the long-haired guy can't even believe the old man actually did that. Washu tells Endri to go help. The deserter walks up to Grandpa Bao's body and asks how he's doing. With a grim look, he says he doesn't think they'll be able to save him. He explains the floor absorbed some of the blast, but the sacrifice was still fatal. The deserter says they got lucky, because Grandpa Bao's grenades didn't explode. When he tries to take the grenade, Grandpa Bao's injured hand clamps down hard. The deserter swears, shocked the old man can still hold onto it. Stunned, he wonders how Grandpa Bao is even still alive after the explosion. The deserter yells at him to let go, warning that the grenade's going to blow. But the old man's stubborn and keeps pulling. The deserter realizes that if he forces the hand open, the grenade will detonate immediately. He stares at Grandpa Bao's face, horrified by what he's seeing. It makes him remember something from when he was a kid. He watched someone important get taken out. Meanwhile, he was shaking with fear, hiding inside a sewer drain. Coming up to them, our hero asks what's going on. Endri tells Wan Shu to help stop the bleeding and says he'll go see if he can find first aid kits. The long-haired man says there's no saving him. His internal organs are destroyed. Washu says not to waste time on them. Meanwhile, another guy has his gun aimed at Jing, saying he's got the girl. He orders Endri to drop his weapon, but Wang moves fast and points a gun at their leader's head. The man panics. He's still holding the grenade pin. Confused, he wonders if they'd really do it. And his boss tells him to stop being an idiot. They need more people if they're going to take down the Nietong group. The long-haired guy agrees with the deserter and tells him to let Jing go. The thug backs off, and Jing steps away, relieved to be free. Annoyed, the deserter says they're risking everything for one person. Everyone gathers around Grandpa Bao's body, worried about his injuries. With his face all messed up, the old man is still breathing, but barely. The deserter says he understands what the old man's trying to say, which confuses the others. He says he needs them to face the Nietong group, and that he won't betray them. With that, Bao lets go of the grenade and allows the other guy to take it. The deserters impressed the old man managed to do that while half-conscious. He says moving him would only make it worse, and that he's got maybe half a day left. He offers to give Grandpa Bao a quick death, but Endri threatens him. Washu says Grandpa Bao can't be saved, his arteries and bones are shattered. Endri refuses to accept it, saying the smell will attract the infected. Washu says they can't block the entrances and tells everyone to wait outside. Crying, she asks to be left behind with Grandpa Bao's body. The deserter and his group get ready to leave the museum. Beside Grandpa Bao's body, Wangshu kneels down, mourning him. Suddenly, Grandpa Bao's hand moves and grips hers tightly. Startled and crying, she looks at him, and the old man takes his last breath. Outside, the little boy cries desperately, calling for his mom. The deserter threatens him, asking if he's trying to get himself killed making that much noise. He scolds him, saying not to let the people who saved him die for nothing. The deserter warns that if the kid slows them down, nobody's going to care whether he lives or dies. A man warns that the smell of blood will draw the infected, and they're already nearby. Outside, 2 infected are already closing in, and with all the noise, more of them show up. Worried, Jing turns to Endri, calling his name as the tension spikes. Endri tells Xiaoqiu to climb onto his back, planning to run as soon as Wanshu comes out. Wanshu steps out of the darkness, walking with purpose. Gun in hand, she stops and says firmly that everything's ready. She orders anyone with a weapon to cover the rear, because they're getting out of there. Gunshots echo through the place as the infected drop one by one. Washu keeps firing nonstop while the group runs away from danger. The long-haired guy warns them not to waste bullets, because the noise will attract more infected. Another one says the ground floor is still intact, and they should head upstairs to be safer. The deserter grabs Jing's arm to help her climb up. Endri yells for everyone to flip the table and use it as cover from the last infected coming at them. Gun in hand, Wangshu gets ready to shoot the monster charging in. A guy shoves Wangshu and takes off, saying he'll go first since she's too slow. They both crash into the rubble as a whole horde of infected closes in. With red eyes, the monsters rush forward, ready to tear into them without mercy. The guy who pushed Wangshu gets grabbed and screams for help. Furious, Endri curses the monsters and yells for them to go to hell. Then an explosion goes off, and the infected get blasted back by the impact. Worried, Endri grabs the guy who was attacked and asks if he's okay. As the smoke clears, the guy says he's fine. He says the explosion was thanks to Uncle Bao's little gadget. With an angry look, Wangshu says she's gonna kill that idiot herself. The guy refuses to surrender, saying the weapon he has isn't a threat. He threatens them, saying he's already being merciful by not finishing them off. The deserter tells them to drop the petty drama and focus on the mission. He says if they don't work together, they won't make it across the river, and they'll be dead soon anyway. But something catches the attention of this bald old man. Without warning, the deserter kicks him away, saying it has nothing to do with him. On the ground, the man curses him out for kicking him. Then he looks down at his feet and realizes, horrified, something's wrong. The deserter asks if he gets it now, and the man starts freaking out. He begs them to let him climb up, saying there's still time to amputate his leg. But it's too late. He starts twitching and writhing. Unable to control his own limbs, he panics, wondering what's happening to him. Washu watches with her gun raised, serious and determined. She reloads, saying they don't have many bullets left. Endri says they shouldn't waste ammo on him, and they need to plan the crossing. The long-haired guy praises the main guy for being smart. He explains the man would last about half a day before the infection reached his brain. The deserter says they should check the building so they can spend the night safely. Looking at the remains of a campfire, he figures it was made a few days ago. He says whoever lit it might still be nearby. The guy who got kicked has fully turned now. He stands up and reaches toward the others. The deserters group finds the kids who were hiding downstairs. Meanwhile, the leader shines his flashlight and says he found someone. It's a wounded guard wearing a helmet and safety goggles. Wanshu complains about the disgusting smell. Xiaoqiu hides behind Jing, and the girl tries to calm them down. Flies are crawling all over the guard's body. He was shot in an unprotected spot. The long-haired guy repeats that, from what he can tell, the kid's been dead about 3 days. Then the leader figures the guy must have been a bridge guard who ran from Yetong's group. After that, they notice he's holding a small notebook, so the long-haired guy starts reading it. It says there was no way out. Rock had been defeated by the Blazing Star. A flashback shows Blazing Star's men sneaking in while the others were playing poker. They got captured easily, and the guard wrote that it was a revenge plan. Looks like they were planning to get revenge on Guangzhou. The guard says he got shot in the shoulder while escaping the infected. The long-haired guy thinks it's interesting that the last thing he wrote about was cards. Endri wonders why Nyetong is at the bridge if Blazing Star attacked it. The deserter says the roof is safe and they can rest there and think about it tomorrow. Washu agrees, saying they're exhausted, and they decide it's better if the girls sleep away from those guys. Meanwhile, sitting down, the leader decides to eat. Wanshu gets suspicious, but the man promises he won't hurt anyone. Then she snatches the cake out of his hand and hands it to the kids instead. Annoyed, the deserter calls Wanshu a thief. The little boy cries alone in a corner, crushed by everything that happened. Xiaoqiu walks over and offers him a cake, trying to cheer him up. Angry, he says he doesn't want it. He's thinking about how to avenge his mom. He points at Endri, saying the guy with the stupid face looks even more depressed. Sitting on the edge, Endry gets asked by Xiao Qiu what he's doing there. Looking out over the city, Endry wonders if Uncle Hai is waiting for him up in the tower. The scene shifts to a dark street, with an old building in the background. A man limps along, singing as he leans on his crutches. Still limping, he keeps going down the empty street, singing some old song. He looks at the building while singing about being like mandarin ducks. Out of the shadows, a hooded guy watches him, holding a bat. The man turns around, like he can feel someone watching him. The hooded guy attacks from behind. As he runs, the old man asks who's there. He was already close to his hideout, but he gets taken down by the hit. With one crutch snapped, he falls to the ground, totally defenseless. Then he reaches for a metal jar. He begs not to be hurt, offering all his money, saying it's in the box. The hooded guy grabs the box and opens it, showing a bunch of coins inside. But he complains it's barely any money, and when they look closer, they realize they're just kids. With a stick in his hand, one of the boys asks if he really thinks a kid would hesitate. The old man tries to talk back, saying they're young and there are other ways to live. The boy cuts him off with a hit, telling him not to make him laugh. He mocks him for being blind and crippled, begging just to survive. Smiling, he asks why he doesn't just die already. The old man says even if his eyes and legs are useless, he can still live. He explains his hands and ears still work, so he can get by. The boy wonders if he should let him live or kill him with what little he's got left. The man tightens his fists, thinking about his choice. The boy throws the money box on the ground, scattering coins everywhere. With a look of disgust, he says he can't even bring himself to look down on someone that poor. The hooded kid complains, but the other one tells him to shut up. He says they should leave and find someone else to rob. Frustrated, the deserter says that old bastard is haunting his dreams now. Looking out at the city, he asks why the guy doesn't just give up on everything. The scene changes to Nietong's hideout, which is a total mess. Two drunk guys complain the booze was weak. Tongzi kicks someone who's basically passed out from how drunk he is. Annoyed, she complains that he's sleeping in his own puke. One of her goons says they got carried away after yesterday's big score. Grossed out, Tongzi picks up her lighter, covered in vomit, and complains about the smell. Outside, someone yells for them to come out and talk. He says if they don't, he's leaving. Smiling, she says they showed up right on time for the shift change and that she'll open the door. But it's the deserter, and he says he was at the museum while she was wiping everyone out. Her goon is even shocked to see him there. With a smile, the deserter says he didn't bring any weapons and he just wants to talk. Tongzi comments on how gutsy it is for him to show up there. They decide to bring him inside and kill him if he says anything stupid. With the deserter on his knees, one of the goons says both leaders are listening. Meanwhile, he thinks to himself that Niezi is basically a monster. The deserter offers up the group's location in exchange for a weapon, food, and safe passage. The boss looks down on him for selling out his own people and says they won't last long anyway. Tongzi says there's no need to spare him and suggests cutting out his tongue. The deserter reveals there's an immune woman with them, the one who caused the city to fall. Nietong's leader says he's heard about immunity, but he's not interested in any vaccine. The goons laugh, saying there's no point going back to the old world. Tongzi says with the girl, they could bargain for food or medicine. One goon says that would just get them in trouble with the other groups. Laughing, they say nothing would change. They've always been a problem for everyone else. One of the drunk goons cracks up at the leader's jokes. Another agrees the trade is worth it, even with the risk. Tongzi says since everyone agrees, she'll accept the deserter's deal. Smiling, she promises Nietong will hold up their end of the bargain. The deserter gets a bad feeling and regrets coming there. The scene cuts to hours earlier, with Endry asking if the man feels guilty about what he's done. He asks about crossing the bridge. With a confident grin, Endry says he's already thought of a way to get across. Endry calls the deserter out for giving up so fast. Wanshu says if they're crossing the bridge, they need to hurry and eat something first. The deserter smiles, thinking the whole situation is kind of funny and messed up. Endry says everyone's been having nightmares and hasn't slept well after everything. The guy in the hat says he saw more deaths last night than in a whole year. And the long-haired guy tells everyone to listen to Endry's plan. He says he's open to ideas and will talk through any plan that might work. The deserter points out that the Nietong group has a lot of men and strong defenses. Meanwhile, they've got 5 guns and 2 grenades, and they're running out of ammo. So Endry suggests luring the group into a trap and stealing their trucks. But one of them doubts it, saying there's no trap that can stop a truck full of lunatics. Another says that if one truck falls into the trap, the others will stop pushing forward. They wonder how they're supposed to lure the group into the trap without getting killed. Endry says Nietong doesn't kill for fun, they kill for resources. He explains that if the group finds out they have something they want, they'll come after it. With a determined look, he says all they have to do is set the trap and wait. Someone else questions the plan, saying they don't have anything left to use as bait. Endry tells him to use his brain, reminding him they've still got an ace up their sleeve. He points at Jing, saying she's what the Nietong group wants, and can have. The deserter gets it. they're going to use Jing's immunity to lure them into the trap. The problem, Wang says, is choosing who's going to provoke the group and lead them in. The long-haired guy says they need a new face, since theirs are already known. One man refuses to go, saying he's not going to risk his life and be used like that. Another supports the plan, but worries about whether the bait will survive. A young guy asks what kind of trap could beat a truck full of enemies. The deserter says Endry must have already thought of something. With a grin, Endry scratches his nose, thinking about how to explain it. The deserter says weak people will just mess everything up, and that this is life or death. He volunteers to go, saying he'll do it himself. Back in the present, the boss is already in his truck with his henchmen. He asks the deserter if he really feels nothing, knowing his former teammates are about to be wiped out. The deserter answers that of course you do whatever it takes to survive. Nietong's henchman says you can only really live life to the fullest when you're aware of death. He suggests the deserter not cross the bridge, and just stay with the Nietong group. From the back, the deserter tells them to slow down. They're almost there. With a serious look, he says they've reached the meeting spot. They're standing in front of the abandoned hotel. The Nietong group gets ready to attack, with orders to kill everyone except Jing. Hidden in the bushes, Endry and Wang Shu watch the enemies closing in. Wang Shu comments on how many men and weapons the Nietong group has. One of the guys on the protagonist's side points out that huge boss. Endry reminds them to just stick to the plan. Wang Shu notices the Nietong men have stopped advancing and thinks something feels off. They're already close to the entrance. Nietong's henchman tells his men to spread out and hide separately. The masked leader orders the deserter to go to the courtyard and draw the group out. The deserter realizes this won't be easy. They're already suspicious. He worries that if they start yelling, they might wake up the monsters inside the hotel. Suddenly, Endry shows up, and the deserter, startled, asks what he's doing there. Endry lies, saying they found some drinks, and that they didn't take anything valuable. The deserter invites him to come upstairs and drink with them before they leave. Endry praises how fast the deserter reacted, but signals for him to stay quiet. Outside, the enemies watch, thinking it's working. The masked leader says to leave the deserter alone. Thieves have principles too. Right after that, he gives the order, and his men move in. With weapons in hand, they rush toward the abandoned hotel. Nietong's men storm the place, ready to attack. Surprised, they wonder where Endry's group went, because they can't find them. Then they run into an infected person pinned to the wall by roots. Everywhere is packed with infected, and they realize they can't go in. Outside, a man says there are snipers and they need to be careful. The day before, Endry drew a map, explaining the layout of the place to the group. He explains that a car blocks the entrance, and the bushes create a bunch of pocket-like hiding spots. The protagonist reveals his plan: lure Nietong in and wake up the infected. One man doubts the plan, saying it's way too messy and risky. The deserter says that on the battlefield, the ones trying to survive are the ones who die. Smiling, he says the more dangerous it is, the easier it is to catch the enemy off guard. Outside, the group starts shooting to draw Nietong's attention. The men fall for the trap and, realizing they're at a disadvantage, rush back inside. The masked leader orders them to find the two liars who lured them there. Bullets ricochet off a white car. One of the fragments ends up hitting one of the guys in the face. One of Endry's men asks why the enemy isn't dodging. Then the boss moves in with his men. He tells them not to be scared, because they're no match for him. With a furious look, he says anyone who tries to mess with him without the skills to back it up won't get anywhere. The flashback shows a news report about a private exhibition match with the Iron Giant. The fight organizer tells him to take it easy and let the other guy land a few hits. He says to finish the fight in the 4th round, and he'll get $1 million. The bell rings, and the fighter takes a heavy punch to the face. He realizes his opponent isn't pretending, and every punch is aimed right at his weak spots. The flashback keeps showing the opponent's fighting technique. The fighter is shocked by the guy's skill and strength. He can tell this isn't some amateur. The fight goes on with a fast exchange of punches. The organizer can't believe Niezi got taken down by a punch that hard. Then, with a grin, he realizes he got played. Niezi wasn't actually that strong. A new champion is born, and the challenger raises the belt to celebrate. News of the champ's loss spreads through the sports papers. Reading the newspaper in the car, the organizer says some people will just never get it. With his hands wrapped up, Niezi gets ready to get revenge for what happened. The organizer, surprised, finds him in the garage and tells him to get out of the way. Furious, Niezi says he's going to pay for what he did today. Not caring at all, the organizer floors it, ready to run him over. The car revs, but it doesn't move, and the organizer looks confused. Niezi is holding the car back with his bare hands, stopping it from moving. With all his strength, he lifts the car and casually tosses it aside. The car flips over, and the organizer screams for help, trapped inside. Stuck in the shattered windshield, he begs for help, unable to get out. With a cold, nasty look, Niezi asks if he's ready to pay the price. The organizer begs for his life, promising to put him back on top again.